keep a lid on it? How can you keep a lid on it? Sleepy Hollow is bubbling. The Geelong Road is boiling over. And this just might be the year that Bobby loses the tag of being the Cats' last living premiership coach. Dean Laidley is the season's Cinderella story. And the Kangas, the underdogs who refuse to be beaten. But Geelong can sniff destiny. And it's been 44 years since Bobby couldn't stop laughing. Finally, these Cats are looking forward to their happy hour.
Yes, two teams have provided so much so far this year, Geelong and the Kangaroos. They're playing for a spot in the preliminary final. As I welcome you to the MCG, it shall be a wonderful game. We've had a cracking weekend, haven't we, of finals, and a sensational start to this match with Lee Matthews and David Swartz. And Lee, I'm talking about the pre-match warm-up. Have a look at this, the Kangaroos running through, and it was Shannon Watt and Cam Moody who first come to blows.
Well, this is 40 minutes before the game in the preliminary warm-up, and the two groups of players got intertwined. It just shows the emotions are running high even that early before the game, but wiser heads prevailed, fortunately, and they got separated fairly quickly.
I think it also reinforces that both these sides dislike each other, not only the players but also the fans, and we're going to see fireworks right from the very first bounce.
Well, that first ball's going to be a tough one to win. It's going to be a hot footy early, isn't it? We're going down to the Kangaroos rooms. Tim Watson with Dean Laidley.
Dean, they're down one key defender today. Is that some place that you can exploit them?
Oh, look, we've probably brought in... We didn't have Aaron Edwards last time, and he's been in the side for the last few weeks. So, look, whether that... we've got to mark the football to make that a strength of ours. But, look, we need to get it in there, a good 50, 55 times to give our forwards an opportunity.
You were good against them last night, albeit for about 5 or 10 minutes in the third quarter. Is that how you saw it too?
Yeah, it was. And, look, they just, won the football on us. So we're going to have to be at our best to win the football and put a lot of pressure on them.
And Gary Apple, he'll need to be pressurised every time he gets hold of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they've got 3 or 4 guys. They've got Bartel and Corey, and Ling perhaps will go to someone. So they've got a lot of ball winners that we're going to have to win our fair share.
Good luck today.
Thanks, Tim.
So out they come, these Kangaroos, and I think that belief within the group is now permeating to the wider public, don't you? I mean, we are now noticing that this is a serious footy team. They've won 14 of their last 19. Wells in his 100th match today, and the one change to the team is that Farito was selected this week with Casey Green, the suspended player, missing out. Farito are good in for them, and they have been very, very competitive, the Kangaroos, in their 2 matches against the Cats so far this season. Sunny day here in Melbourne, a bit breezy and a big crowd, and Geelong about to follow, and they have been the yardstick all year. Lee, you coached against them a week ago.
Oh, they were fantastic last week. They were great at the stoppages. They executed their skills really well. They go in really good shape.
Plenty of support, as you'd expect, for the Cats today. Everybody knows about their problems in the finals over the last 4 decades. Max Rook and Jimmy Bartel are their 2 ins, and they really have been outstanding with 16 wins in their last 17 matches.
It comes with that a lot of expectations too, to come out today and really deliver a pretty strong performance to take them through the finals.
So let's go down to the Cats rooms. Ricky Olorenshaw with an old teammate of his, Bomber Thompson.
Geelong have been a dominant force all year. Massive expectation, your boys, Bomber. How are they handling the pressure?
We're not feeling that pressure of expectation. We're just really enjoying the way we're playing and expect the same today.
And Kangaroos knocked you off early in the year. You got back in a few weeks ago. We're going to win this game.
Look, it'll be one around the stoppages. I think Kangaroos are a very good team there, and they apply great pressure. So those stoppages are very important.
You got some key players back to help in those stoppages.
Yeah, got Bartel and Jared Rook, or Max Rook now, isn't he? It's 2 pretty important players. We're happy to have them back.
Well, you've been here before, Bomber, so good luck today.
Pretty laid back, isn't he? Only 5 players have played all 22 games, which is a bit surprising. They've had a heap, though, that have played at least 18 matches. But Egan is out, and that does change the defence, doesn't it?
It certainly does, and what it does do, it leaves a big hole, and they haven't been zoning off all year, but they may need to do that today, and Milburn may be one of them, and Harley. But Lee, as you said, you saw them last week, they may have a couple of problems down back.
Well, they might. Scarlett, of course, tries to be with Milburn, the floating defenders playing on the 3rd and 4th opposition play, but now he'll have to take one of the big forwards, maybe even Petrie, who is going to give away a lot of size and therefore not so much the offensive run.
They're good players, Ox. Really got hold of the Kangaroos. Their midfield had big numbers in round 20. Mooney kicked 5 and Johnson kicked 4.
Well, the stars stood up, and Cameron's Ling's job was amazing.
And the Kangaroos line-up, it's been pretty settled most of the year, hasn't it?
It has, and that's one of the things, like Geelong, they've been able to do that. And Adam Simpson, he was one of those players that got on top really early on in the season over the Geelong Footy Club, but then last time Cameron Ling absolutely gave him a bath. He only had the 10 touches, and if the Kangaroos are to have a chance today, Lee, he's got to get his hands on the footy.
Well, Simpson gives him the grunt, but if Cameron Ling sits on him, it's very hard to get high possession, so that'll be an intriguing contest between those two taller midfielders for both teams.
Well, they've been at it half an hour ago in the pre-match warm-up. That opening bounce is going to be explosive, isn't it? Big crowd here today. They're playing for a massive prize. A week off and a place in the preliminary final. Which one will it be? Will it be the Cats or the Kangas? Back with a bounce after this. This is finals footy.
The home of football, the MCG, on a Sunday afternoon. Pretty day in Melbourne. Glorious morning. Bit of cloud about this afternoon. Both sides on the ground. The Kangaroos and Geelong. Controversy in the warm-up at about 10 past 2 local time. A scuffle developed on the field. And I think, Tim Watson, we could hear more about that.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if we heard a lot more about this. The AFL said today they'll take no action at this stage, but I'm sure as part of their match review panel, they'll take a look at what we're seeing right now. It reminded me, Dennis, of an NFL game back in 2005, and I know you saw exactly the same game between the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles. Two players, although I'd have to say it was a little bit more violent than this, as most things are over in the States, but two players were ejected from the game before it even started. You're right. Another 9 players were fined as well, so Cam Mooney, he's all fired up. They ruffled him a little bit last time, these two sides met, Dennis, but it was only in the second half. But I think they thought maybe they have just crawled ever so slightly underneath his skin.
I was watching on Cam at the time. I had the glasses on Cam Mooney, and he was a central player. So the team's now lining up. Good crowd, as always, and we say it each and every day in this final round. The stakes are high. The winner straight through to a preliminary final. Let's go down for the national anthem. Here's Craig Willis.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Australian Football League and our premier partner Toyota welcome you to the first qualifying final here this afternoon at the MCG. Would you now please join with the players and the umpires as we stand for the Australian national anthem.
That's the furthest thing from their minds right now. As we await the toss of the coin, so much expected of this club. 18-4 through the season, the Cats. But the pressure goes on this afternoon. They start as equals. And what about the Kangaroos? They lost their first 3. I think it's fair to say they've rebuilt from the soul. Security of tenure is a marvellous thing. Suddenly they weren't going anywhere. They knew it. And they're making a statement. Toss of the coin.
Good luck, Adam. All the best. Mario's going to toss the coin. Okay, it's going to be Tom's call. So nice and hot.
Simpson wins it. They'll go to the punt road end. Ricky Olorenshaw is on the boundary.
Thank you, Dennis. Just on Corey Jones, last week after the Bulldogs game, I actually helped him off the ground with a foot injury. I gave him no chance of playing today, but he is here, very important player for the Kangaroos. He's kicked the 46 goals, and he is their #1 goal kicker. Now, just reflecting back on my finals career, my first qualifying final back in 1993, I ran off the wing, I grabbed the ball at the first bounce and got absolutely poleaxed by Fraser Brown. After the game, Bomber Thompson was my captain at the time, grabbed me aside and said, mate, do not go for the ball at the first bounce of the final. I wonder whether he's told that to his Geelong boys today. That centre bounce is going to be red hot.
Good on you, Rick. What's he saying there, Tim? He treated Corey Jones. Is that the upshot of that discussion?
I think he did. I think
got him back in shape.
He got him back in shape. Well, we all know Ricky is a physiotherapist, although he's not a practicing physiotherapist at the moment. They're going to load up their forward line to the Kangaroos right from the start. Hales down there. Edwards, who's a marking player. Petrie, Brown. They've got their 4 smaller players on the interchange, so they're really going to test this Geelong defence from the first bounce.
We saw both the games between these clubs this season. Back in round 5, the Kangaroos at Skills Stadium by 16 points. Then in round 20, the Cats by 27 at the Dome. Umpires this afternoon, Margetts, McLaren and Jeffrey. And Cam Mooney already has got his sweat up.
And Cameron Ling, this is a real surprise. He did such a great job on Simpson last time these two sides met. He's actually gone to Brent Harvey. That will be an extraordinary matchup if that continues.
The first qualifying final. The tortoise and the hare, Harvey and Ling. And away we go. Who'll get the first kick, bearing in mind what our man said. Bartel taken high. Jimmy is back and he's back in business. Jimmy Bartel lays it off. Scarlett pushing up the ground. Makes a signal. Goes long inside the full at 50. Chapman works in front. Knocked away by Archer. And the ball goes out of bounds. What an anticlimax.
This is the one you have to win, that first ball at the first bounce. And there's Bartel in and under. And that's what he does his best work.
Boundary throw in. Well, having said all of that, you do know where to go to get the first kick. Here he is again. Hasn't been away, Jimmy. Third possession coming up. Well, almost. Taken high, it will be. Got the hand pass back from Kelly. Oh, high handoff.
Archer's got to Chapman. What an explosive mix that is.
Well, they had the blue after Mooney and Watt, Tim, in that fracas half hour ago. It was Archer and Chapman that were at each other, and they had to be separated by Tom Harley. Simpson getting an early touch, and Otten's getting an early grab, and it's a beauty. Kick to the centre to Stokes, to Enright, to Harley, and then Harley just measures the kick. He was looking for Mooney. Chapman got the crumbs, straightens up, and kicks the first goal of the qualifying final.
He's an intelligent player, Chapman. Here's the contest. Or here's the mark from Ottens. And here's the ball going forward there, Cats. That's them linking up across half-back. That's what the Roos need to do. They need to contain that. There's the contest. Archer got lost in that contest, and Chapman, who has terrific goal sense, just finishing off.
His 21st goal of the season. Very easy. Mooney, no doubt, will be the target. He was then. Play restarts. Otten's favoured by the bounce. Had a run. Comes back to him. Brilliantly done. Bartel again out of the middle. Down towards Johnson. Off hands. Ferrito back in the side this afternoon. Smith needs to be quick, and he was. Simpson spots a man out towards the wing. Goes to Harris. He's got the run of it. Harris just runs beyond the wing. Settles now. Kicks inside the forward 50. Their first time in. Edwards has taken the mark.
Nothing in it at all, Josh. There was no push at all. There was absolutely nothing there.
Josh Hunt playing on Edwards, who is a marking player. There's a collision. It was just a gentle nudge. You're allowed to do that as long as the ball's within 5 metres. It was deemed to be. Got a wonderful pair of hands, this bloke. He's a real clunker, Edwards. A real clunker.
Nothing wrong with that. Shoulder to shoulder. 15 goals from set shots this season. And he comes and steers it through. Could be the X factor. He didn't play last time.
And this may point to the real problem that they're going to have this afternoon. The Cats just maybe down on that one tall defender. Hunt is going to have to play against Edwards, who is a marking player. They've got Harley down there, who's gone to McIntosh, who's pushed deep forward. Hale's now gone into the ruck. They've got Brown, who's outsizing Milburn, and they've also got Petrie, who's outsizing Scarlett. So in terms of size matchups, they've got the Cats exactly where they want them.
He's averaged a couple of contested marks all year, Edwards. That's his gift, isn't it? We saw a debutant in good goal-kicking form yesterday in finals in Buddy Franklin. Edwards starts with an early goal today. Edwards or Simpson with a third early disposal. We talked about him pre-match. Brown fell over. Milburn got a touch. Steve Johnson on the end of it. His creativity will be so important, you reckon, today. Watt has got the job on Mooney. Frito had it last time. Harris couldn't quite. Gibson, he misses a target as well. Geelong swoop. Here is Johnson. Good smother, though, by Frito. Stokes and Frito and Johnson go hard. And Frito very happily runs it to the line like a sprinter going for the tape, wasn't he?
Much better for him this afternoon, too. He's not opposed to Cam Mooney, who stitched him up the last two times they've played against Geelong.
Boundary throw in. Almost some hands in the back on Petrie by Ottens. Taken by Harris in the congestion. Did well. Sends it up towards the wing. It was Tart's play on's the call. Kelly. Scarlett in trouble. Lays it off. Well played. Wajinski. Bartel. 70 metres from goal. Not a badly weighted kick. Missed at the back there by Mooney, who then slips over. And it runs out of bounds.
What's picking up Mooney? He went to him after Mooney kicked 3 goals in the first quarter against Frito last time. It was a better matchup for the Kangaroos.
Holding on, Gary Ablett!
We heard the umpire, Gary Ablett, the recipient of the free kick.
They've been pretty hot on this all weekend, the umpires too. It seems to be one of the areas that they're focusing on. Now, I'm not sure about that as a free kick, though. Just looking at that replay against Pratt, I would have thought it might have been the other way, if anything.
The Brownlow medal favourite. It's going to be hard to win the best and fairest at Geelong, let alone the Brownlow. It's such a year they've had. He's a goal kicker, Ablett. Squeezes it home.
He's kicked 26 for the year, 27 now, and just over 50% of those are on the run, but he is a very good set shot. Now, there's a free kick against Pratt, the umpire said. Now, looking at that, unless there was something that happened before that, I can't, I mean, that is just an error from the umpire. There's no other way of describing that. No other way of describing that.
His first possession a goal, 31 possessions last time these sides met. Some finishing touches from Dean Laidley to the way they'll start, if that makes sense. Early going first term. Ottens taps it down. Coming in strongly off the line was Stokes. Ottens the kick inside the forward 50. Big leap down there by Mooney. Off hands taken high as Pratt. He'll get the free kick.
Daniel, go back and take the kick, please.
Pratt about 40 metres out from his own defensive goal.
Gibson's free.
Showed a lot of courage a moment ago. Gibson against the flow. Out wide.
Enright went to Harvey last time. Now he's gone to Wells, so they obviously believe that Wells has run and carries a real danger this afternoon.
So Wells, his first touch down the line, boundary throw in.
That's a fascinating matchup. Cameron Ling running with little Harvey.
Petrie, half a dozen goals here the last time they played at the MCG in the first quarter. Finished with 7. Only played 3 matches here all year, the Kangas, and the Cats only a couple. And they haven't played one another here for nearly a decade, these two teams. Bartel good early, but he misses Corey. And then Rawlings caught in the tackle by Wajinski. Ball not coming out.
No prior opportunity. Went to ground. That's locked in there. That's it, boys.
They look to be attacking Gary Ablett in the early part of this game. No player looks to be tagging him, but they may be rotating 2 or 3 of their midfielders through them. Well, I'll keep an eye on that throughout the afternoon.
Harris off the ground. Ottens hooks it down. Grant taken down strongly by Scarlett. Knock it out's the call. Was that in the back? Wajinski.
Last way illegal illegal tackle. That isn't. Get up now, Doug.
What about Jimmy Bartell? Back in the team after having his appendix out a couple of weeks back. 5 possessions of a total of, what is it now, 26 with those two, and he got one of them. In fact, he got 2 of them. Hard to keep up. Harley, untidy. Ling has got support, didn't know it. Needed to force it forward. Edwards robbed of the football. Johnson digs it out into the path of Harley. Under pressure, was he pushed to the back? No free kick. Ball bounces down towards half forward. Kelly on the run. Goes inside the forward 50. Now it can't be relayed. It's got to be a push in the back in the act of kicking.
Footy's got to go back. Footy's going back.
It'll come back to Kelly at right half forward.
Already that hard running of Geelong's defence is really worrying the Kangaroos.
Bartell 7 of 30. Not too good on percentages, but I know it's high.
It's impressive.
Gee, how could you leave Hunt free there?
It's about 24%. Hunt's kicks a beauty to Chapman.
Well, that is just poor marking. So many of the Kangaroo players had actually pushed inside the defensive 50. They left Hunt there, but he's got wonderful foot skills. He can kick the ball with such depth and penetration. Had no trouble at all hitting this target here. Chapman, who just led to that fat side space there.
Well, the 3 seasons prior to this, he kicked 98 goals in total. He's missed a few this year, but he's kicked an early goal here, and that's a bad miss. Unlike Chapman, he's normally pretty accurate.
Because Archer's gone to him, he'll keep pushing to the ball too, because Archer does like to sag off his direct opponent, become that 3rd man in a contest, or even sit back in front of their key forward. So Chapman will continue to push hard to the ball carrier.
So Pratt goes down the line.
Very close. Centimetre perfect, as they say. Petrie, right on the line, taking the mark. Bright sunny day, terrific conditions. What a day for footy. What a day for finals footy. Wells, who was good last week, 24 possessions. They just need a little more from him from half-back. Well-weighted kick over the head of Hale. Big leap Ottens coming through Jones. A scramble ensues, and that ball isn't coming out.
The Kangaroos will be happy to play this tempo football in the early part of this game. They want to control the speed of the game, but they're going to have to be able to manufacture some targets further up the field when they go forward.
Ottens decisively, stolen by Grant. Spills wide. A chance there for Wells. Coming in is Simpson. Was he pushed to the back? No. Well worked by the defender. That was Enright, and the ball is out of bounds, I think. Or will he bounce it? He's going to bounce it right on the line.
Scarlett still loose down back. Rawlings and Corey still deep in the Kangaroos forward line. Gibson's hands were good, and then Swallow to Brown, who bangs inside the 50. Jones went to ground, gets a second crack. Ball eludes both he and Harley. And Harley, who did such a good job on Jones, didn't he, the last time they played?
He's out of sorts, though, Jones, at the moment. His goal kicking has dried up a bit. He just doesn't seem to be the same player he was in the early part of the season. 5
goals in his last 5 matches, Tim, and yet 41 in his first 17. So that does tell a tale. Enright involved there, along with Swallow. Good to see Swallow. There's Corey and Rawlings. Rawlings deep forward, Corey with him.
Bartell's been busy. 7 disposals, 2 clearances, 2 inside 50 and 2 tackles, so he's working everywhere.
Hale backhands it down. Ottens inadvertently got it across to Ablett. Ablett's away. Wonderful pace. Kicks through midfield. Working in front of his brother. Bounced off Nathan's chest. Gathered by Harris. Prepared to go back. This is Pratt. At half-back Pratt. Interesting kick. Bounces it through the centre. Hacking his way through for Rito. Runs down towards the 50. They stay off him, or do they? There was some contact. Doesn't matter. He's kicked the goal.
Well, 2 things about that. Geelong want to own the corridor. They broke down the middle of the ground. They couldn't control the footy. But the Kangaroos were just as happy to take use of that space when they gained possession. This is a great bit of play here by Pereira. He knocks the ball out of Ablett's hands, and then he actually runs attackingly and offensively to become that link player through the centres. We see that heavy hit there too by Ottens on Ferrito, and Ablett's going to have to be better than that.
It's his first goal of the season, Tim. It's one of the goals of the year. Maxwell, great to see him back.
it's a really good positive move for the Kangaroos to have Ferrito further up the ground on Ablett too, because Ablett isn't known for his work rate.
Well, before Ben Cousins on Friday night, Max Rook's hamstring was the most famous in the season, wasn't it? He went over to Germany to get it fixed up. So the Kangas doing pretty well here. Cats have led them 1-0, 2-1, Ling down. Here's the hit, bang, crash, hip and shoulder from Brown. Geelong slow Blake. Sinclair has started interchange. Harvey.
He'll get busy now. No
McMahon, who is also off the interchange. McMahon sweeps it inside. Sinclair just on his wrong side. Left foot kick to space. Grant may be the target. The ball doesn't quite sit. Corey takes him out and then rides a tackle. Good tackle by Grant. Got him. Should have been holding the footy umpire. Back to McIntosh. 50 metres out. He can kick a goal, McIntosh. And he has.
But what's been remarkable about McIntosh in recent times is his ability to get forward and do exactly as you said there to Bruce. He had 10 inside 50s last week, so he does all his best work forward. There's Cameron Ling, he's off the ground. Here's the bump. It was a solid bang there by Brown, who I reckon pushed himself up to that part of the ground so that he might be able to do something like that. There goes the tag on Harvey. Harvey becomes a ball winner almost immediately that Ling was off the ground. And here's that big goal from outside 50 for McIntosh. What a start by the Kangaroos.
Ling off the ground. That was a heavy hit by the anvil, Lee Brown. And what a bonus when your big guys can kick goals like that one from Hamish McIntosh, who's inspired. Down like Polly Farmer to Harris, Sinclair, Gibson. Geelong have got a bit on their plate at the moment. Pratt kicks inside the forward 50. Working in front, then dropping back was Wojcinski. But in the meantime, there's holding off the ball, and a free kick is going to Tom Harley. Didn't see it. Enright's got it. Comes up towards the wing. Well-weighted kick. Selwood. The NAB rising star runs forward of the wing. Probing kick inside the forward 50. Nathan Ablett goes after it. Chapman finds a way through. Mooney back to Chapman. Under pressure. Bounces it through.
He's been a star up for Chapman already. 2 goals. He had another shot on goal that he missed completely. Archer just loses him. There's Archer just trying to affect the tackle. And there's Chapman, who's just a smart player, but also a good finisher. And you just get the feeling that players like Chapman love this type of pressure and this type of stage to produce their absolute best.
See the clearances there. Chapman doing well. Down to you, Ricky. How's Ling?
Well, he's one tough customer, Bruce. He actually managed to smile when he came to the interchange bench. He actually asked the medical staff who was the culprit and who got him. He wants to even up, but he's okay, ready to come back on.
Big bad Leroy Brown, wasn't it? Well, there you go. McIntosh heard the umpire, not 15. Corey good. Milburn very good. Just fainted a handball out wide to Stokes. You reckon his run could be important late in the match? It's a warmish day. Selwood, who started interchange. Second disposal, a good one. It's wide, but Ablett on his own. Nathan Ablett.
Well, that's where I reckon the Kangaroos got lost last time they played against the Cats, and that was with the second tier of their midfielders. They did a heavy rotation that day. Selwood's come on the ground. Nobody seems accountable for him. And Ling's just back on the ground too.
20 goals, 9 from set shots this season, Nathan Ablett. And always just to the skinny side. So the Cats by a whisker early in this match. It's a great start to what has had a huge build-up. The 3 finals preceding this have been the perfect precursor to this match, haven't they?
Mark Thompson, happy to have Ling back on the ground. Ling did smile at Ricky down there, but did call him Cheryl as well. There goes the short one to the pocket. Sinclair's got it. Deep in his own defensive area. Jess Sinclair, who started on the bench. High outside the defensive 50. In front, McMahon. Harris has been very good. Kicks it up towards the wing. Hale knocked it down. Sainsbury left it behind. Wojcinski. looking for Scarlett. Over the football is Smith. Missed by Selwood. Blake came back to him. Once more Selwood. Wojcinski. Burns. Stokes slipping over. Kept his composure. Well worked. Harley. Now Scarlett finds himself with some time and space. Barely 15 to Selwood. Selwood goes down towards the 50. And the artist, formerly known as Jared, has got this ball 55 metres out.
Selwood's had 3 touches now forward of the centre.
Kicks it down towards full forward, slightly off target, and behind for Max Rook. Actually, Johnny Gastev did that to me mid-season. From Gastovich to Gastev, played havoc with my ins and outs.
A lot better going that way than the other way, though, Dennis.
Yes.
It started with Gastev. Sinclair. Probing kick, but Scarlett sits underneath it. So Geelong has set a wall up, haven't they, across centre wing, and Kangas are finding it hard now to penetrate.
They're back in numbers now. They've blocked the corridor.
Mackie. Good looking kick. Crash, bang footy there. Ferrito's had a spectacular start. Runs it out. He's going to... Sansbury, first look at him. He's kicked more goals than any other Kangaroo in the last 6 weeks. Petrie searching for it. Couldn't get it. And Milburn runs it over. In fact, a free kick to Milburn.
Here's a hit from Mooney on Bartel. Bartel going back with the flight. He's such a courageous player, Jimmy Bartel. You're always going to get hurt when you play like he does.
He won't have to ask who knocked him out. He'll know. Mackie, that's a good mark, isn't it? Going back and Pratt putting all the pressure on him.
I don't think I've seen a more physical start to a game of football this season.
Not 15, play on!
Heard the call, Wojcinski. And within the confines of the match too, it's just happening as if by nature. Scarlett down towards half forward, low down, well gathered by Chapman. One of his bootstraps.
Looks like
he's 60 metres out.
Looks like there's been a change there. Sinclair's now gone to Chapman.
Now Mackie is a long kick. He's got it 60 metres out as they skirt the perimeter. Nathan Ablett's in the square. Well, he loads up and goes, I think, in the Johnson direction. Interesting choice, and the mark is taken down there by Hale. There's a good grab, and Johnson the worse for wear.
Kangaroos had 14 inside their defensive 50 when that ball came in, Dennis.
Simpson in the back pocket has had some great days against Geelong. Not their last meeting, but prior to that, 42 possessions. He's done that twice against Geelong. This is Grant.
Move it on, Shannon. Play on.
He kicked 3 in round 20 against the Cacks, Grant. He's kicked to centre wing. Edwards a big fly. Petrie's handball. Simpson again. Wells did very, very well, did Daniel. To Sinclair, to Edwards. Well, he loads up, and it wasn't the right way to go because there was nobody forward of the 50, and Scarlett gets it from Stokes. He'll play that quarterback role all day, won't he, Scarlett? That's the one he'll want to do. Just sweeping from the back. And now Hunt to Burns, to Wojcinski. A running bounce for him. That won't be the last of those. Bartel has been quite brilliant. And as I speak, makes a mistake.
That's a real win, though, for the Kangaroos. What they did when Scarlett had the ball at half back, they actually congregated in the centre of the ground, so they sent Geelong wide. Now they've got the opportunity to open up the other side of the ground.
McMahon runs over half back. Nobody near him. He's had a few bounces, like a relay. The next leg falls to Wells, who decides not to run. Comes back to the middle. And Jones inside the centre square in the bright sunshine of the MCG. Looks down towards half forward. Well, rather indiscriminate kick. Hale has to work. Burns cut him down to size. Well done. Arriving quickly as Watt storms through midfield. Penetrating kick down towards full forward. Harley. Uncontested. To the pocket. Bartel.
Again, Dennis having a prolific start. Wojcinski releases Ablett, 2 of their best runners. Ablett uncertain. Chapman provides the shepherd on Sinclair, and then Ablett's well-weighted kick. Not quite that time for Rottens. It was a good attempt. Ferrito's been so good in this opening term. Wrapping up Kelly. Kelly trying to get it out.
Knock it out, Daisy! Knock it out!
Corey Jones, oh, gee, the footy was behind him.
He couldn't see it. The umpire kept saying to him, knock it out, knock it out, knock it out, but he was searching for it, but he couldn't locate it.
So Steve Johnson quickly to a one-on-one with Mooney. Archer gets back, two of the hard men in the game. They played in a premiership together, those two, in 99 here, and Archer built it over the line.
He drew 3 players, and Big Cam Mooney, 2 in the air, 1 on at ground level, and he almost won the contest too. Here's the free kick against Jones there. He had no idea where the ball was, though. It was underneath him.
It was interesting, Tim, a moment ago. The Kangaroos had a chance to really attack down the wing. They came inboard and played the safety, and then Corey Jones, who doesn't look confident, nothing kick, suddenly a turnover.
Gibson.
He must be carrying an injury, Jones.
That's a good mark by Hale. Between two cats. Geelong lead it by 3 points, approaching quarter time.
Move it on, David!
Terrific opening term. Play on's the call. Slow motion. He drives it down towards half forward. Petrie almost. Ablett gets the crumb. Selwood. Hunt. Milburn now can push up the ground. A runner outside, and by a runner, I mean a runner. Whoops. Stokes, who's so quick, but the bounce didn't favour him. Now he's chasing with Burns as Harvey goes inside the 50 to Grant. Sainsbury wants it short. He got 5 goals last week, Sainsbury, but Grant can't get it to him.
Gee, I reckon he's going to have to kick this, Grant, because Sainsbury was on. He was actually on for the first kick from Harvey, who kicked it from the wing. He just surged into the space deep into the forward pocket there.
Got 2 metres front.
Such a cruel bounce for Stokes on the wing. Had he taken it, this could have been happening at the other end. Grant will compete about 5 metres out. 3 cats there. They didn't do very well, as it turned out. Sainsbury goes in, ties it up, and that's a victory for the Kangaroos. 2:47 to go, and a bounce about 10 metres out.
Just came right off the side of his boot. That 7 cats contested that to 1 Kangaroo.
Gee, McIntosh is thrown out of it by Blake.
Interesting thing about that last ball that came in from Grant was that the 7-on-2 and the other Kangaroo players had actually pushed up into the midfield, so they're already prepared to block the corridor should the ball come out.
Ooh. Well done, Blake. Ablett getting busy in the second half of this opening term. Undecided. Has to be careful with the kick. May turn it over. Pratt's got hold of it. He'll switch it up, and he does. Wide to Brown. Gee, that's nervous. This is an awful bit of play by Brown. That's just dreadful. That just hurts. That kills you. Johnson and Gibson. Well done, Gibson. I reckon Brown's saying a little prayer as I'm speaking. Pratt can't get it out. He's tucked it back in.
You can't get it out.
I reckon Stokes dragged that one back in.
Of course he did.
Wow.
Well, we're seeing the new umpiring, aren't we, over the last few years. The drag in, off the line, all happening here. Sinclair to Jesse Smith. And now Hamish McIntosh set a task. Joel Corey with him. He had 34 disposals against the Cats 3 weeks ago.
The Kangaroo defence is doing okay there. They're standing up against this onslaught from Geelong when they get the ball from half back. They're trying to drive the ball in there quickly, long, but they're standing up okay.
Well, the ruckman touched the ball. This is Kelly. Did well in a tight situation. Enright, half-distance kick. Standing his ground, Jones. Then he lost it. Mackey, a little casual. Ablett didn't have the football. Ablett, alongside the centre circles. Comes out wide. Selwood, about 55 metres from goal. Inside the 50. Lines up. Slightly askew. And a good mark is taken by Nathan Ablett. Stretching, wanted to go by hand or run around and narrow the angle, not quite sure, doesn't matter, came unglued, and Watt just feeds it back for a point.
That was great concentration there by the Kangaroos. Here's the mark by Ablett. Watch Ferrito, just terrific concentration. That's what you want to see from your defenders. Just played the ball right out. Ablett did the right thing. He had to try and open up the goal face.
Gee, Tim, Ferrito's having the first quarter, isn't he?
He's been outstanding.
Pratt to himself, and then under pressure. That's a bad bit of footy. We've seen some real blues, haven't we, late in this term from both sides.
It's pressure, finals pressure, getting late in the quarter. Players get a little bit tired. Their bodies go. Mentally, they wear too.
It's in good hands with Hunt, and now probably even in better hands, isn't it?
And Gibson's just looking around there saying, OK, we're supposed to set up some sort of a defence here. We should have been blocking this part of the ground. This was a dangerous spot. This was a kick by Pratt. They've had real trouble getting the ball out from the points. The Kangaroos, has been a good zone. And here's the kick to the space, and that space should not have existed.
He's kicked a goal in every match he's played this year, Johnson. 22-10 from set shots. Gee, not good. That's an awful kick. Boy, oh boy, the last 3 or 4 minutes from Lee Brown on to Steve Johnson has been
the pace,
indicative of the pressure. That's and very illustrative of it.
The pace this game began at.
Well, Pratt just trying to bang it out wide. Edwards and Petrie targets. Smith roved it well, but then coughed it up to Harley. Geelong maybe with one last chance. They're a long way from goal, though. Now Chapman loads up, goes to the pocket. Harvey caught underneath it. Selwood roving it. Boundary throw in. Well, Geelong has led in 19 of his matches, Rook. 19 of his matches at quarter time this season. They've won 18 of those.
Look at the players around the ball here.
So Rook getting the boot back on.
Look at the Cats. All lined up. Defensive side, the Roos attacking side.
Both got each other. Play on now.
Otton's clever tap. Johnson held up. Oh, what a terrific opening term. In fact, it was explosive half an hour before the first bounce, wasn't it? And at quarter time, Geelong lead the Kangaroos. It's 3-5-23 to 3 goals 18. And this is finals football.
Staring out into the night, trying to hide the pain. I'm going to the place where love and feeling good don't ever cost a thing.
Slow-mo extreme backing up Tim Watson, who said it was the most physical first term he's seen this year. Cats kicked 1-5 in the last 16 minutes of the first term, and they had the last 5 scoring shots. They were all behind. It's 3-5 to 3 goals in the qualifying final. And one of the surprises, Ox, right from the start, was Cameron Ling's matchup.
No doubt. Everyone expected him to go to Adam Simpson, and he didn't do that. He ended up going on to little Brent Harvey. Ling only had the 1 touch in the first quarter. Harvey had 3, and the other player that was involved was Simpson. He had 6, and we know what Ling did to him last time, but there was a little bit happening, Lee, between the two.
Well, great symbolism when this happens, when you clean up the opposition's tagger. That's a great morale booster for the Kangaroos, but they just haven't got enough shut-down players, the Kangaroos, because Ablett, Selwood and Bartel, they're getting the freedom, and they'll end up cutting the Roos off if that continues on.
Speaking of Bartel, he has been busy, hasn't he? It's a 5-point game at quarter time. Down to you, Ricky. Everything all right with Jimmy?
Yeah, just before quarter time, he came up with a cut above the eye. He went straight down the rib. He's still down there, just getting stitches in that eye. He got a couple of heavy knocks, tested out that appendix, but he should be back in a few minutes' time. Also, on Corey Jones, I mentioned before the game, he had a foot injury. Only did stationary skills yesterday. He looked very restricted in that first quarter. Dean Marty spoke to him at quarter time, said they need more from him.
Good on you, Red. So that cut, I think, coming from the collision with Cam Mooney, they say friendly fire. That's a misnomer, of course, especially when it's Cam. 5 points the difference. Terrific opening term. Second quarter underway. Otton's has been good. Selwood stood up in the tackle. Wells to space. Pratt in trouble. Tackled by a couple. Did he take the tackler on? Yes. Advantages played. Storming away as Stokes goes looking for Chapman.
He's too quick for Archer. Archer's gone back to him. He's already exposed Glenn Archer, and they'll need to look at that again, the Kangaroos. Pratt picking up Ablett. That's a good tackle. With his hands, he should have run with it.
Only one man could get that pass. Demanded a fair bit of Chapman in the end. Intelligent kick. Chapman going at his third. Straight through the middle.
Bomber Thompson really likes that matchup of Archer onto Chapman, and as soon as he went to him, he decided to play him as their full forward. We see that pressure there in the midfield. There's Stokes just running away from that tackle and then being able to deliver the ball to Chapman, who started at the top of the square. That's where he'll take Archer and run him from the top of the square. As soon as they made the change in the first quarter, Chapman actually played a different role. He pushed up higher when Sinclair went to him.
Cats have had the last 7 scoring shots of this match. Jimmy Bartell back.
Jess Smith's now gone to Chapman. Archer's on Stokes.
And Tim, I'm with you. I think Wells had the chance to run then from the centre, had the clearance and went the handball option. McIntosh paddles it forward. Milburn and Sainsbury. Sainsbury did well there. He's a long way back. Brown's handball. Harris hip and shoulder hard on Ablett. Edwards was terrific to Sainsbury in the pocket. Centering kick. Just didn't have enough on it. It was the team thing to do, but Enright read it so well. And right now, you feel like the Kangaroos have got to match it with Geelong, because the Cats are doing all the scoring, and it's being played on their terms as we speak. Hunt, such a good setter-upper. Ling, good mark. That's a good sign for Geelong.
Very slow to get up. There he is, trying to run it out. Like Ron Burgundy. There goes the kick inside the forward 50. Now, how will they play it against Archer? Too high on Stokes. It'll be interesting to see if Archer actually took the mark.
Took his arms, got his head.
No.
Stokesy! Right on the mark!
Here's a hit on Gary by Harris. He pretty much rolled his body with that. I don't think that would have hurt him too much.
So Stokes steps inside the 50. Oh, that's a terrible kick. Hangs it way out to the right. So a string of behinds for the Cats, despite that goal from Chapman. I think 1-6 in their last 7 scoring shots.
Inside 50s, 19-10. They just can't get the ball inside their attacking area often enough. The Kangaroos, they're being held up beautifully by the Cats in this part of the ground.
Again under pressure, they're coming out, and that's a big problem. Steve Johnson to Chapman, and what a half a footy he's going to have under his belt when they go in for the long break. He's kicked 3 already.
You know, Fruto was actually standing there. He saw Chapman in front of him, but he's actually standing there admonishing himself about the kick. They just have to switch on quicker, the Kangaroos. This side could just blow you away in 5 minutes, 10 minutes of football. They are so good, so efficient with the ball.
Well, that's been their trademark all year, hasn't it? 5 or 10 minutes of irresistible football that they've played. Chapman's kick, not a goal this time. Orton's very big fly. Probably a hand in the back, maybe. Not paid. I reckon Harris has been good. And that's a neat kick and a very good mark by Edwards.
Beautiful kick. He had one target, didn't he? When he went forward, he looked up, and Edwards started at half forward, led hard to there, but that was the only target pushing to the ball.
So Edwards from half back.
Harris, 7 possessions. Coming back was Simpson. No mark taken. Going in strongly there was Rook. Harris once more tries to get it out. Kelly slung. That ball sticking around the vicinity though. Dived on it.
Harris is hurt too.
In that pile, I don't know who dived on it. There's Harris, who's been very good for the Kangaroos. Free kick is going to Rawlings. His first possession.
Free kicks 14-3, Dennis.
Last week, Rawlings certainly got a lot of the football. Not so this afternoon. Simpson from behind, not in the contest. In front, Milburn, the veteran, to Harley. Great understanding at the back for the Cats. A hallmark of their play this year. Milburn hugs the boundary. And a youngster. Selwood's got it. There's Harris. Bartell, what a return. So important. Looks down towards half forward. Putting it into the path, leading Rook almost to the football. He applies the tackle because he got a bad bounce for Rito. Sinclair with some work to do, running out of space. Harvey's been quiet. Sends it towards the wing. Big leap at the back. Hunt failed to take the mark. Pratt tried to get through, nothing doing. And the ball up.
Good tackle straight up, Jimmy.
Is it Harris?
Yep.
He got a bad knock before. In fact, it was James Kelly. Looks like he's trodden on his head.
Gee, they need Harris back out there in a hurry. His ability to win in the hard ball gets has been so important. Ling couldn't quite shake Sinclair off. Just feel like the Kangaroos are struggling to match the intensity of Geelong. Harris was the one midfielder doing that.
They can't get free though, Bruce. They've been the highest scoring side in the competition in the last 3 weeks, the Kangaroos, but they just can't get anything going whatsoever.
Over the top.
Third man over was Simpson, Wells, Harvey. Back to Sainsbury. Was he out when he kicked it? He might have been, which will save him a bit.
Averaging 20 goals over the last 3 weeks, the Kangaroos. And they've been able to get a lot of drive off their half-back. They just haven't been able to get into the open spaces and run the ball through the lines. Wells has to get active. Harvey has to get active.
Looks like Harris's hand or arm. We'll get to Ricky on Harris in a moment. Ottens, Corey Enright was just bustled out of a well done Pratt. But Pratt's handball into a contest. Chapman involved as he's been in a lot so far in this first half.
No chance.
And to get a ball up.
You often see this in football, don't you, where the game becomes static for a period of 3 or 4 minutes. It's a real arm wrestle and then one side breaks free. That's the point we're at this game now.
Dean Laidley catching his second final. The first, a big loss against Port Adelaide. Look away from Sainsbury to Simpson. Around the corner straight to Ablett though. Here's trouble. Ablett into the path of Johnson. Peeling off for Rito. Over his head, Nathan Ablett. Kind bounce. 35 metres out. Not a good effort. It floats back towards the pocket. Big leap Mooney. Mooney plays on and bounces it through for a goal. I wonder if Vasco da Gama celebrated like that when he saw India.
That's Cam Mooney's first goal for the afternoon. Even then he had a contest with 2. Here's a bit of play that set it up. Johnson just over the top. Wasn't a clean handball, but Ablett just did the right thing, drew 3 players, and then just decided to pop the ball up to the top of the square, attack that part of the ground. 2 players were drawn to the contest. McMahon couldn't get a touch on the ball, nor could Watt. He's been quiet though, Cam Moon, early part of this game.
3 goals, 6-0 in the last 24 minutes. How's Harris going, Ricky?
Yeah, he's still in a fair bit of pain, Bruce. He actually got stood on in that hand, so the doctors at the moment are just checking that out. He's had it re-strapped. They're pretty frantic getting back out there because he's so good around the clearances.
Well, they have to make a stand now, you would think. Geelong are such good front runners, aren't they? Simpson, inside the 50, Milburn. Gee, he did well there, Milburn.
Well, he's smaller than Petrie, but he'll get to the ball quicker than Petrie.
And one of the big talking points was going to be the Kangas marking inside 50. They can't get a touch, can they, there?
There hasn't been a lot of supply, though, either, Bruce.
True. Ablett, Farito. Did well, Farito, but Ling got in there and did so well. Chapman. They've got a bit of a strut about them now, Geelong, haven't they? As Ottens just floats it inside 50, and Pratt, courageous player that he is, to Sinclair.
The former Docker decides to run around the outer side. 3 bounces, takes him beyond half-back, kicks over the wing towards half-forward. Petrie works in front, didn't claim it, goes again. Awkward hand pass. Rawlings kick with about 10 metres. Back it comes to Rawlings from Watt. Penetrating kick inside the forward 50. And Hunt, who's been good, worked his way in front. Ablett couldn't handle it. Brown, well, he waited for the tackle and simply dropped it.
Their tackling, Geelong, has been outstanding. Every time the Kangaroos look like they're going to escape, 2 or 3 players descend upon them. He just dropped it. Swatch says he just let go of the ball and said, OK.
Nothing wrong with that hand pass to Ablett. He just was moving before it arrived. Wojcinski, penetrating kick towards half forward. Ghosting in, McMahon knocked it out, but Johnson over his left shoulder, bounced awkwardly for Stokes again, not his day, goes after the footy. Oh, Ablett was taken high by Farito. No free kick. McMahon is dragged down by Chapman.
Good tackle, Chappie. Hey, Scotty. It's all right.
Ablett a bit stiff there.
Cats deep in attack. Gibson did knock it clear, but straight to Blake. Oh, this will bring the house down if he scored this. So much exposure with his first couple of goals in league footy, which came earlier this year. Steve Johnson, look away, brilliant handball. The bad bounce for Stokes.
This is better.
Sainsbury to Hale, took a couple of good marks in the first quarter. Edwards did well. He and Hunt, that's an interesting duel. Hunt doing very well, but Edwards still providing a target. Now Brown and Scarlett. Harley got back. Grant to try and shark. Oh, disappointing result for the Kangas. They really...
Get up, Corey, get up.
They had the Cats where they wanted them, didn't they?
They do, and Edwards missed Petrie too, who stayed around between full forward and centre half. Ford put his hands up in the air, missed the target.
So Milburn strolls away and kicks it beautifully to Ling.
The offensive side of the wing comes back to the middle. Ablett looking ominous at the present time for the Kangaroos. The kick goes down towards half forward. Rawlings was being held. This could be 50.
He's one of their winners, Dennis, too, Rawlings. He's doing a good job on Joel Corey. Unfortunately, Harvey just hasn't been able to get free of Ling. He's had just 5 touches, and Wells hasn't done much at all this afternoon. They need the run of him. Chapman's coming off the ground. He looks like he might be limping a bit too. We'll go down to Ricky Olrenshaw soon and find out what's wrong with him.
Umpire Margetts, I think, asking Johnson what he doesn't understand about Tweet. He blew the whistle and Johnson opted to kick it. There's Wells. Across the 50. Hale. Coming at him from all directions, stood his ground, the big guy. And now has a chance to kick a much-needed goal.
That's the line.
Here's a beautiful kick, Wells.
Yours, mine.
Edwards. Closer by about 5 metres, maybe 10. He's trying hard.
Josh, here. Scotty, clear the 5 metres, Scotty.
Well, he goes short, and that's...
He's got 2 metres
how
forward.
it finished with this man.
Josh, 2 metres, that's the line.
Unusual ball drop, Edwards.
Edwards got it from Hale, but can't finish. Off hands and out of bounds in the pocket.
Gives the ball enormous elevation when he kicks. Edwards just doesn't seem to get the same or the right penetration. We see Harris back on the ground. They need that. They can't afford to lose their midfielders this afternoon.
Hale just pushed Blake out, took it out of the air. Grant off the ground. Petrie got a little toe to it, and then Bartel was there in a flash to push it over the line. So it's the first score for the Kangaroos in 29 minutes. A rush behind. So Dean Laidley
Not 15 play on
trying to work something out to give his team an edge. Bartel has been so good, measured again. The kick though falls to Ablett. Archer's tackle was getting lower and lower by the moment. Kelly to Ling. Bartel again through the centre. Well-weighted kick. Mooney got rid of his man. McMahon under the pump. This could be a very good result if it sits for Edwards. It does.
He's got it on the wing. Goes down towards half forward. Sainsbury, who can kick a long goal. Runs to the 50. Not this time. Out of bounds on the full.
That's a poor result. We haven't seen the midfield open up like it did there on many occasions this afternoon. They've got to make the most of those half chances. In fact, it was better than a half chance. It was a full chance.
The coach very measured in his response. A lot of the volatility gone from Dean Laidley. And what a wonderful season he's had, in control after a slow start. Eventually, they decide to come forward, and Hunt finds Ling. Ling towards the wing, Enright.
He's doing a good job on Wells, Enright.
Last week he got his shorts from a factory outlet in Kazakhstan. Here's Bartel. I think the most important player. Comes to the wing, low down, Ling, Milburn. Running hard was Burns, running harder was Smith. Harvey, they need him. Going down is Archer, knocked away, holding the ball. Gee, that was a quick whistle. Selwood runs to 55, Bacon square, leading back Stokes. It didn't bounce that time, he wouldn't let it. He took the mark.
That was a great tackle on Glenn Archer there. He slipped over here. He was away. Great tackle here by Milburn just to knock the ball out of his hands. I'm not sure whether or not that was holding the ball.
It can't be a kick. Stokes puts it through. When I say can't be, it was.
He got the advantage play on. Smith. He was kicking and forward line. The players had moved up the ground. Glenn Archer hasn't had a particularly good afternoon. Here's the slip from Arch, and then they're in all sorts of trouble. Another slip over. Selwood picks up the ball. Stokes has just been a wonderful player. His last 6 weeks have been outstanding for Geelong. He gets a lot of the ball. He pushes up high. He can play as a defensive forward, but he's also been kicking goals.
He's kicked 15 goals in the last 6 weeks, Stokes. Been very, very good. Ricky Chapman.
Yeah, Tim mentioned there was a problem with Chapman. He's just complaining of the tightness of his left buttock. He's had some work done for the physio to have it loosened up, but he'll be right to come back on.
He did miss some games, Chapman, didn't he? Towards the end of the season, they've been able to get him back. He's so important as his 3 goals testify. Well done by Kelly to Ling to Bartel. And Geelong has just taken a grip on this match. They lead by 4 goals.
Well, you know, one of them, they've got many problems at the moment, the Kangaroos, but they do need to free up Harvey. He's their running, carrying player, and Wells is the other player, and both those players have been well held at the moment, so they just aren't able to generate any run.
Let him run.
McIntosh probably got the tap. Simpson, who got a lot of disposals early. Pratt did well. Here is Wells, and this is what he does so effectively. A third bounce. Can he deliver? Good-looking kick off the boot. Jones couldn't quite get into the action. Petrie just slipped through his fingers. Boundary throw in.
They've got to try and get the ball to Wells, and he has to back himself. We've seen that the last couple of weeks where he's been prepared to take on the first tackler, get around him, and then get into some open space.
Boundary throw in just inside the 50. Offhand Selwood. Relishing his first final. Clever kick. Stokes towards the wing. Chapman, who's booted 3 goals, kicks inside the forward 50. One out is Mooney. You'd like him from here. Spilt the mark. Did the hard stuff.
No, you didn't make any contact with your Cam. Come out. Keep coming out.
Behind.
What about Selwood's kick off half back there? Wasn't that wonderful vision just to open the play up?
Didn't touch it, Cam.
Still going on behind the play between Cam and the umpire. McMahon found Smith. Pratt trying very hard. Kicks inside the forward 50. A lot of jostling down there. Hale was slung out of it effectively by Scarlett, who then got the football. That was well worked. Kelly gave it to him. Selwood putting on a clinic, the young man. Wonderful hand pass. Ablett, Ling, Ablett. This is the reason they're premiership favourites. Stokes with a loose man on. Gets it across to our man, Cam Mooney. And the Moonster puts it through.
I don't think we'll see a better passage of football that highlights what this Geelong team's all about. There's Selwood, who is the #1 youngster in the competition. They attack the corridor again. Ablett just out of the corner of his eye just saw Stokes just floating into that space, and then Mooney finished it off. But the real problem there for the Kangaroos was the long kick into their forward line, not able to take it, then Scarlett rebounding.
Well, that's the best illustration of a team goal you'll see, isn't it? Under the pressure of finals footy. Those handball receives. Selwood and Ablett, the early architects. Mooney, the finisher. And they just can't take a mark inside 50, the Kangas. And they have had a couple of chances late. Bartel again to Burns.
He's controlled it. Go back, take it, control it all the way.
Gee, they've identified Archer as the bloke to actually try and expose, haven't they, this afternoon?
He's really struggling, isn't he? It's unfortunate. Bartel, Jimmy!
This could become showtime pretty soon with Geelong. They're just absolutely smashing the Kangaroos in the centre. There's Burns. He's come on. They're trying to expose Archer again. The kick just waited to his side. Archer not able to get a fist on the ball, but there's Bartel, who's just a wonderful kick. That's way outside 50 he's kicked that.
Well, I'm no doctor, but obviously you don't need the appendix to play good footy.
Time again.
He's got a few problems. Multiplying by the minute. Back in the middle. Blake won it down, stolen away. A combination of Simpson and Rawlings towards half forward. Petrie is there, unsighted so far. Kelly. Oh, well done by Grant. Smothered the hand pass from Mackey and kicks a much-needed goal.
He's one of the only, or of only a couple of ground level players that they've actually had in their forward line in this first half. There's the contest there, 2 players just missing the ball, and the Cats, for one of the rare times this afternoon where they haven't been able to clear the ball cleanly, and Grant, who is an opportunistic type player, able to get a mid on it and then just finish it off. Lings had 9 disposals this quarter.
Good roving goal by Grant. Geelong still by 5. And they had kicked the last 6 goals of this game. In fact, they kicked 6-8 to a point prior to that goal. Bartel, probably the best man on the ground, and he's got some good mates in this first half. Corey, back to Harley, who's led very well. Back to Bartel again. It's like a recording in your pocket, isn't it? Oh. Swallow misses it. Doesn't get a free. Rook. Smith did well there, Smith, because he stood up in the tackle. To Harris, to Smith. He needs to get rid of it. Oh. Well, I guess incorrect disposal he's gone for in the end.
They've just looked indecisive and slow this afternoon, the Kangaroos.
Here's Rook. Max, 55 metres out. Gives it a ride, but well wide was the ride. 57 to 25.
Geelong, they're not afraid to attack the corridor, are they? At every opportunity, they look inside.
Maloney on the back pocket.
It's one thing to know that. It's another to stop it.
McNabb, rather. What am I talking about? The short one comes to Edwards.
That's it, Fred.
We never know what you're talking about, Dennis. That's why we don't correct you.
The high ball up towards the wing. Harley, juggled mark, well done.
50.
The 2 captains together there.
That'll bring him inside 52, so that brings him right in goal range. Not in the mark.
Sorry, Tip.
I was just going to say the free kick or the 50 metres because he wasn't.
Dump him after, that's 50. Has been all season.
I was just thinking there, Bruce, the only connection I can make, and it's rather tenuous, is George Maloney. Played for the Cats.
I reckon you've scrambled well, Dennis.
Well, it's fair to say I've not understood much since 1968. But it's a worry. Here's Harley.
They did have a Maloney a couple of years ago, Dennis.
Somewhere, sometime. I think he's the paper man. There goes the kick from Harley, and he's tugged it way left. That's out of bounds on the full.
He's done well, though, Harley, hasn't he? Well today and very well this season after he played the first game and then missed about 10.
I'll just have a look at inside 50s too, Bruce. Coming into this game, the last 3 weeks, the Kangaroos have been averaging 60 inside 50s. They've only had 17 so far. You're never going to win a game of football if you're only pushing the ball inside those few times.
Clever kick by Simpson, gaining ground. Corey.
Got his handball.
Wells couldn't quite. Kelly, well done. And then a brilliant handball to Harley, to Scarlett. Held the kick up beautifully to Burns, to Scarlett. He broke the first and then bangs a wild ball out to Johnson. Good bounce. You expect something clever here, and he produces. They are irresistible, aren't they?
That is relentless, bold, brave running from half back. There was only a half chance there that Scarlett actually took to receive the ball again, but they just kept moving. They kept the momentum.
And Burns just knew that Scarlett was going to keep coming at him, so he just gave it to him.
They're in sync, aren't they?
Yeah, Mooney's kicked a couple
Right there.
in this quarter. He's kicked 3, big Cam.
They are irresistible at the moment, Geelong. There's no question about that. See Cam Mooney just coming off for a break. Cameron Ling will come back onto the ground. He's done a terrific job. Here's the run. And that wasn't even a good kick then from Scarlett. It was a hurried kick. He was under pressure, but it was to the space they created. And that's a wonderful finish there by Steve Johnson.
Cam Mooney off the ground. He knows about good teams too. He played 11 games for the Kangaroos, including just the one loss. They were a powerhouse. There he is in another powerhouse, it seems.
Don't take his line, that's okay.
Headed,
Play on.
you would think, for a grand final. Ablett. Otten's in trouble. Ablett goes in again. It's tied up.
And you think you might just get a bit of a rest in the last couple of minutes of the second quarter, and Ablett comes off the interchange and goes straight into the midfield. They've got great depth in their midfield.
Get him up.
A man with so much to do, Dean Laidley.
Play on.
He's turned this club around. Can he do it again at half-time? He'll need to. Ablett, Stokes, who's been terrific, goes inside the forward 50. Selwood onto the loose ball at the back. Can he control it? Yes. Can he kick it? Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no.
All clear, Luke.
Behind.
What about Gary Ablett in the centre of the ground taking it off Shannon Grant? How good was that?
It was brilliant.
Oh.
They looked like they were away then. He just got 1 mid in there, controlled the ball, then followed it up, and then he was able to be proactive.
Well, the sobriquet for Geelong, Tim, is Sleepy Hollow. I reckon they'd be bouncing down there right now, wouldn't they? They'd be loving this. Bartell again. What's Jimmy had? He's had 19 disposals in the first half. He had 36 the last time they played. Then he went into hospital and had his appendix out.
Don't go any further forward. Go towards
Petrie just hasn't been able to hang on to the ball in the air.
So Nathan Ablett, he's had a couple of shots. And he puts a bit of icing on the sweetest cake in the first half in a long, long time.
Gary Ablett, here he is, doing his best work in the centre of the ground, just knocking the ball out. There it is. Just controlling the ball, following up, getting it back, then just using on the outside. Here he goes again. And that's what they're able to do. They're able to rest their first tier midfielders, bring on their second tier.
7-5 to 1-1 in this term. I guess they're bouncing even more now, Bruce. Geelong. When you said that, I had this vision of Tom Cruise on Oprah's couch. All of Geelong just getting there, doing it. Back in the middle, McIntosh knocks it down.
15,
Simpson, Wells, they need much more from him. Grant left it behind, that sort of day. Harris, did he have the football? Grant. Now Swallow kicks inside the forward 50. That wasn't a player, that was the umpire. Coming through Wojcinski. Dash, inspiring stuff, out of defence. Going back with courage. Gibson had to reach for it. Always tricky. Good grab. To the wing. Archer knows no other way. And behind him, a teammate put his body on the line. And Swallow slow to get up as a result.
Hold there, Jimmy, hold!
I don't think the Roos have body-lined the ball as hard as what Geelong has this afternoon. I reckon they've taken the softer option on a number of occasions.
Well, they need a late goal, and they're not going to get it there. Enright outmarks Hale. And that says something about what's happening at the moment.
Well, their forward line just hasn't worked, even though they've only been able to punch it in there 18 times. It just hasn't worked at all. They've had no one who has been a clear winner in their forward line.
I mean, the scoreboard is so lopsided, Tim, but boy, it's entertaining, isn't it? I mean, just watching this Geelong team, it's a thrill.
Knock it out! Knock it out! Well done, came out!
After a wonderful first quarter, where the Kangaroos took it up to them, Geelong has put on a brilliant clinic, and Ablett and Bartell between them have
Ablett. Well, Bartel, last time these two sides played, Bartel had 36 and Ablett had 31, and they just couldn't contain them then, and they haven't been able to contain them here at the MCG in this first final.
Well, fittingly, the ball in Ablett's hands at the end of the first half. What can the Kangaroos do? 20 shots to 5, 70 to 25. This is finals footy.
Selwood, the first-year player, the future of Geelong, is on display tonight.
The winner of the NAB AFL Rising Star for 2007. Gives me great pleasure to announce Joel Selwood, Geelong Football Club.
It still hasn't sunk in. It's sort of one of those things that you can't even speak about it. It's just a moment in your life that you just want to enjoy with your family, and today I'll enjoy it, and then tomorrow I'll be back on the job and training hard down at Geelong.
Just for the moment, and Selwood drives it home.
Just got to come on and have an impact when I play my football and do the things that will keep me in the side. I'm in some pretty elite company, and it definitely makes it easier having those blokes around directing and teaching you little things here and there.
Johnson almost through, lays it off, down he goes. Meantime, Selwood kicks a goal.
Can the Swans do it?
Just seeing him so happy, it makes you want to go out there and just do it. Hopefully one day I will get a chance.
Sweeps it very wide to Selwood, takes one on. Now this will be pretty good. 48 out. Oh, how good's this youngster?
So half-time in the qualifying final, and the Cats, well, they're doing much as they like, particularly in that second term. 10-10-70, 4-1-25. Chapman's got 3, Mooney's got 3. It's been a rout. Can the Kangaroos get back? And Lee Matthews, we saw the rising star right there. He's risen to the top this afternoon. He's been terrific, Joel Selwood.
Well, he could be a 25-year-old at the peak of his career. I mean, physically, it's not as if he looks like he's extremely talented. He just does everything right as a footballer. Great hands, great judgment, great disposal skills. Got to be the best first-year player since Chris Judd was 5 or 6 years ago. But, I mean, we've been watching him play all year and almost waiting for him to make a mistake. Yeah. And he missed a goal there in the second quarter, but wonderful young talent, wonderful talent.
Lee, who do they put on him? Who do they actually go to him because he's getting too many possessions?
Well, he's probably about the 3rd or 4th in line, to be honest. I mean, basically, they've tried to sit on Corey, and they've done that quite well with Rawlings. But then you've got Ablett and Bartel and Selwood and even Kelly in there, and they've just got too many midfield options, and they just look too strong, too talented all over.
You can't teach confidence, can you? He's got that. He's got the poise. Just a remarkable young player.
He is, absolutely. Yeah, no, he is, but he's got plenty of mates. I mean, when he can be the 4th or 5th string, they playing off the interchange. As I say, Bartel and Ablett, they got some freedom probably against sort of Harris, Swallow, players like that, and there's just too much depth in their midfield, Geelong.
Let's talk about one of the mates, Paul Chapman. His impact, 3 goals to half-time. Tough, ornery. You'd like him in your team.
Oh, certainly, and they missed him there for a few weeks where he was out injured, but he just said it right from the start. He's got such a strong, compact body. He's not tall, but he can play tall. He's got a great set of hands. He's got what a lot of Geelong players have got, and that's that really good centre of gravity.
He's that small. He's a small marking player. I mean, they tried. Glenn Archer was on him early, and he can mark the ball for a guy who's not that tall, but then he's got a bit of crumbing ability as well. It looks like Archer is having to play like almost 4th or 5th tall down there, and there's just too many medium-sized Chapmans. He was probably on Burns for a little while, and there's just too much variety in the Geelong forward line.
And fair to say, they've tried to exploit Glenn Archer, haven't they? Because Stokes went to him then, they went through Stokes.
Well, they have, and they've actually gone and I try to isolate him also, and whether it's small or tall or even really quick players, they've been very, very, very good at isolating Glenn Archer one out.
Okay, the top 2 in the Brownlow medal, both playing this afternoon. We're talking about favouritism, both playing for the Cats, and they've been terrific, lived up to their billing. Bartel and Ablett. Bartel back after having his appendix out, leads all possession getters on the ground. He's made the transition back remarkably well.
20 disposals, 5 inside 50s, 1 goal. You talk about superstars. He's got one beside him here, Lee, Gary Ablett. He's such an important player, and gee, those two in the middle of the ground would kill any other midfield, wouldn't they?
Such good users of the ball too. I mean, that long goal that Bartel kicked from about 60 metres, but every time Ablett gets it, another Geelong player gets the ball. Very, very talented. Good. We can see why they're a clear top of the ladder the way they played this first half.
So it's half-time here at the MCG, and the margin is 45 points. It's the Cats on top. Can the Roos get back? Hard to see, but we'll find out shortly.
Great slow-mo extreme there, Burns eventually giving off to Bartel, who kicks the goal. They took a 5-point lead at quarter time and turned it into a 45-point lead at half-time. Geelong over the Kangaroos. I'm up here with Lee and also the Ox. Had real trouble, the Kangaroos, taking a mark inside 50 today.
No doubt, and what happened there, Bruce, is Geelong set up this wall, and it just seemed as though the Kangaroos, every time they got the ball on half-back, they tried to bomb it, Lee, and they hit this, not only a wall at halfway, but they also met it deep in defence.
Well, the Kangaroos were doing that down the other end. They were trying to block up the Geelong forward line, and obviously it's sort of like really the mirror image down the other end. But even one-on-one, that's the difference. One-on-one at the moment, none of the Kangaroos forwards are able to get the ball on their Geelong opponents, whereas some of the Geelong forwards one-on-one still look dangerous.
Grady Rawlings has probably done the best job in terms of a match-up with Joel Corey in the first half.
Yeah, but unfortunately they need about 4 or 5 of him, Lee, because they've got so many good players. But he has done his job. Corey's been averaging 26 disposals per game. He's only had 4 up until half-time. Rawlings has had 5, so he's done his job. But, Lee, as we've been talking about, they need more of him.
Well, it's just midfield depth. Yeah. I mean, midfield's really 10 versus 10, and you've got a couple of individual matchups, obviously the Rawlings-Corey one and the Ling on Harvey, but over the 10, Geelong are just dominating. Bartel and Ablett are getting a lot of the ball, and if they get a lot of the ball, they use it so brilliantly.
And yet the signs were good for the Kangaroos early, weren't they? I mean, it was such a great contest in the first quarter. One of the highlights was the goal by Ferrito. I mean, he was able to make something out of very little. Yeah,
look, I thought he was almost their best player on the ground. He was actually he was up. He took Ablett out of the game. He looked confident. He was in serious doubt to play. So he's coming with nothing to lose. This is a wonderful goal. They need to see more of that. For the Kangas to get back into it, though, Lee, they need to get their hands on the footy.
Well, obviously, 20 scoring shots to 5 is a fair indication of how that half has gone. So they've got to lift everywhere. I mean, the only thing they've done better than Geelong at this point of time would be they've been a little bit more accurate. So they've got 4 goals from their only 5 shots.
Lee, are you expecting Dean Laidley to make a lot of changes at half-time?
I'm not sure what can you do. I mean, you basically just got to put your midfield out against their midfield. But I say all over the field, they're getting smashed at the moment. It's going to be a long way back.
Well, the Premiership favourites are 7.5 goals in front at half-time in the qualifying final. Back with the second half after this.
Back come the Cats on top by 45 points en route to a preliminary final. They've been outstanding. They led by 5 points at quarter time. Now it's blown out to 45. And Ricky Olorenshaw is down on the boundary. There's Cam Mooney, who's got 3 goals. And Rick, the Kangaroos gambled at selection. So far, it hasn't paid off.
Yeah, well, the perfect example of that is Corey Jones. We know he came into this game with a foot injury. He's only had the 2 possessions, and he is their leading goal kicker for the year. Also, Daniel Wells has been carrying a medial ligament injury in his knee. He's only had 11 possessions, but he's just got no run. Add that, Andrew Swallow, who last week was heavily concussed, spent some time in hospital. He's only had the 6 possessions and has looked very sluggish. Add that, you've got Daniel Harris, who's got a very heavily bruised hand, very swollen, so he's struggling to win the ball in a contested situation. Over at Geelong, they look very fresh. They're coming off the ground, getting some work done. Then they come back on and make an impact, and that's a big difference.
Good on you, Rick. Tim, I was reading The Australian during the week. Patrick Smith's had a big year. He's written some funny stuff. Not saying this is funny, but he had a 9-point plan to beat Geelong. How's that looking at the moment?
It was a 10-point plan. I can only remember 9 of them. I'm just going through them now, though, Dennis, and I got a feeling this plan actually fell off the back of a truck, Bruce, because it's not the sort of stuff that Patrick normally writes about, but one of them was to tag Ablett. They didn't do that. They had to play 2 ruckmen, 1 forward and 1 back. They tried that. They blocked the corridor. You blocked the corridor. They haven't been able to do that. You take the midfielders forward for their lack of accountability. They haven't been able to do that. Contain Milburn, unsettle Mooney. They haven't been able to do either of that. Don't take Ling forward because he scores goals, and that's been interesting because what Harvey's done, he's actually played not necessarily where he wants to play, but where he doesn't want Ling to play. So Ling's actually won that battle. He's contained Harvey, but Harvey hasn't also been able to do the work getting behind the ball and running the ball as the Kangaroos would like them to.
Gee, well, Marcy Tung had 2 goes at a 5-year plan. Perhaps Patrick should go back again. I don't think you're going to read about that on Big Spot on sport.com, but you love the AFL. That's the place to go to, Tim.
Well, Bruce, you know
maybe
as well,
that was the truck he got it off.
You know as well as I do that there's one thing about having a plan, it's another one to actually execute it, and this Geelong side has been so good in every facet of the game in the first half that nothing the Kangaroos have done has worked.
Well, let's see how their plan B goes now in the second half, the Kangas.
On to plan B, are we? Okay. Yes, that first plan, something the Cat dragged in. That will be the headline on Monday.
Let's look for changes. Harvey's gone forward, Sainsbury's gone forward, and they've also got Wells forward. So they've loaded up the forward line with their smaller, quicker players. They're really worried about the run from defence of the Geelong side.
Okay, the Kangaroos have found something week in, week out. They've got a half to redeem themselves. The qualifying final underway, 3rd term. Petrie on the ball, knocks it down. Rawlings to Simpson. Simpson's high ball floating down towards centre half forward. Hunt was up. Immediately lays a tackle on Edwards. Oops. The P is not working.
That was a bit of a girly whistle. Thanks, guys. Stand up.
Well, Scott Jeffrey's come across and he's owned up. I didn't say that.
Arms are up.
I'll be on a website somewhere. Knocked down by Ottens. Kelly under pressure, overshot the mark. Johnson despairing lunge at Gibson. Gibson's kick. Oh, Hunt. Gee, we'll put it down to the Sun. Scramble develops. Comes out to Grant, to Harris. Goes to ground. Now he's got a problem. The leg scissors applied by Scarlett, and he gets the free. Wants to go. What was Ling doing? He lost a boot, did he? There's a boot lying on the ground. Not sure it's his.
It is, Dennis.
Is it? And out of boot experience. Out of defence comes Milburn and finds Kelly.
He's ambidextrous because he was putting his boot on at the same time the Scarlett was handballing to him. Kelly, or Mackey's just dropped that.
On the ball, drop the footy.
I guess Mackey's one of the few cats that's been a bit quieter, hasn't he? They haven't had too many. They're all doing a great job. Oh, missed by Sainsbury. Hale, Rawlings, pokes it up high. McIntosh versus Harley. Where are the Crummers? Hunt gets back. Sainsbury runs across. Milburn to mop up. And now Ling thinking about that boot. Gets around. Remember, he was knocked out early basically by Brown and came back and played a big part.
At the moment, Corey Jones as opposed to Gary Ablett, which is most unusual out in the wing.
Johnson to Enright.
That's it, Freddie.
Just backward of the centre.
Hold there.
Corey Enright. That son is a problem. Jabs it back towards the middle. Milburn. What a stalwart he's been. And that's a clever kick. Johnson shielding the ball. Has taken the mark on the wing.
Josh, don't go forward, Josh.
Made the point before. Missed the opening 5 games in the All-Australian squad, though. Best to miss them early. As he goes down towards half point, hands in the back.
Hands are there.
It was just unnecessary too, wasn't it? Wells, he just had to wait for the ball to come. He would have been able to knock the ball away from Chapman. He's shorter than him.
Yours.
Chapman's kick inside the forward 50. Petrie, an aggressive fist on it. Ablett taken aggressively. Petrie following up. Ablett did well. Bartel almost got through. It's out of bounds.
Here's Cameron Ling. Losing his boot. There it is. Up he hops.
Harvey should have trodden his foot then.
Not sure if it would have hurt him, Tim. He's a tough guy, is Ling. He hasn't got tough guy hair, has he? But he is a tough guy.
About 20 years ago, if that happened on the field and you didn't do that, Kevin Sheedy would have been wanting to know why.
What's the blocks at home?
So what do the Kangas do here? How can they make some inroads? Simpson off one step and the ball rolling out. They just found it so hard to score. They kicked 3 early goals and they've kicked 1 goal basically in the last 50 minutes of footy. Glenn Archer's had a horror day so far. Brown struggled, Swallow struggled. McMahon started on the interchange.
Enright, no way through. Rawlings did well.
Held in.
Joel Selwood, outstanding in the first half. Simpson loves that roll. 3rd man up. Wells paddles it forward. Grant, Sainsbury inside the 50, just pops it onto the boot. No carry on the kick, and Ling booted up now, comes in, takes the mark. Out of defence, drives it towards the wing with precision. Kelly just running to space, took the mark, clever in the hands by Nathan Ablett. Great discipline, quickly to his feet, wants to go, kicks inside the forward 50. Wonderful courage by Pratt. He must have known who was coming.
Good kick, Daniel. Front on contact, it's a free kick. It's a free kick. It's a free kick, all right? You got him high, you contacted him
No game in the world demands that sort of courage, apart from this one.
You have to be applauded for that out there on the football field.
Move it on, Daniel.
Out of defence then, Pratt liked his game. Otten's being held, no free kick, goes after the football. It's in there somewhere.
The Roos got smashed in the clearances in the first half.
Stand up.
19-9, but already they've started the second half a lot better than the first half. They've been getting the 3rd man up and actually just trying to clear the immediate space. Let's see if they do it again.
Simpson's been the main one. Now it's Corey Jones to do it. Enright read it well, though. Jesse Smith just bundled out of it. Mackey's hands good. Wojcinski.
David Wojcinski, you're free.
Smith's going to have to spend the off-season in the gym.
Take him out, Joel. Player.
So Ablett, as he so often does, gets a handball from the free kicker on mark. Clever little kick to Johnson. Now Johnson's going to go for goal, the goal square here. Ablett was his target, I reckon, with Mooney front spot. And we talked about Nathan Ablett down at School Stadium earlier this year, whether he'd hold his spot, Tim. His hands have been pretty good today.
He's been okay. Yep, he's been okay. Hawkins has been in really good form, putting pressure on him too.
Otten's front spot. Chapman couldn't quite get it to Ablett. Back to Rook. Back to Johnson. Well done there by Simpson. And then Pratt against the tide. Rook fends off. Gets a high ball away to the pocket. Cats have got the numbers. Johnson couldn't quite. And then caught up by Ferrito. Good contest.
He had no chance whatsoever. Chappie! Held to him. Straight up, Michael. Held to him.
We talked about Corey Jones and how little impact he had on this game in the first half. Well, he is running with Gary Ablett, which is most unusual. I haven't seen him play that type of role all year. Obviously, they're just trying to get him into the game, work him in it some way.
Maybe it's a fitness test. Buttons goes up, slaps it goalward, off the ground by Ablett, pushed across the line. No, not quite. Initially, Watt, on the second occasion, slapped across. Who was that? Ferrito? Grant? Doesn't matter. Behind. 71 plays 25. Geelong dominating. Pratt goes for distance, straight up the middle. One out contest. Ottens could have almost got a free. Falls to Simpson. He let it go.
Gee, they've been hot on that today.
Thanks, Rock. Right there, Adam. Play on.
The run provided by Milburn. Centering ball, a good one. And he's putting Mackie almost within range. But Mackie's quickly on. Ablett the target. Ferrito did well. He went early.
He did.
And took Ablett's run.
He's probably almost been their best player this afternoon, Ferrito.
Yeah, he's done a good job. He was terrific early. Provided some run. Oh, that's a terrible kick. I reckon right now Hawthorn will be thinking, gee, the Kangaroos keep this up now.
He's in range here, Gary Ablett. He's outside 50.
Let him run, no blocks.
Well, he kicked a goal against the Kangaroos from this range at Telstra when they needed it. When the Kangaroos were making a run at them a few weeks ago.
Oh, it's on the footy.
He'll run out a little bit just to give him the extra distance. And there he goes with a big load up. Not quite getting it back.
Bit of Johnny Wilkinson about the way he lines up to kick when he's going for distance.
Well, a lot of footy still to be played in this match, but you'd reckon that Geelong are in such a strong position they'd be looking at a prelim final right now. And for the Kangaroos, that would mean Hawthorn next Saturday. Rook getting better as it goes on to in right to Mackie.
Mackie trying to pinpoint the ball and succeeds. Chapman's got it.
Well, that's the worst possible result, isn't it? Kicking out from a point, and the last two kick-ins have gone to Geelong players, and they've marked the kick-ins. You rarely see that in modern-day football. They're so well-versed, the players, in clearing from a point kick-in.
Margin is 48 points. The record loss for a qualifying final.
Eyes up on the line.
Inflicted on the Kangaroos, 125 points in 2000. The last time they played in the qualifying final, Essendon beat them. And now the margin is blowing out. Chapman gets his fourth.
You can't blame the defenders here. We see Chapman coming from the ground now. He's been a star this afternoon, has loved the occasion. Here's a really poor kicking. This is the first one. They hit Ablett, and the next one by Ferrito. It's marked by Rook. And everyone's assignment's blown here because everybody's moved into a zone. And that's why there are so many free Geelong players. He could have hit 3 players there.
Four goals. Have a look at the clangers. They've had 22, Tim, of the last 24 scoring shots, Geelong.
Those clangers are an indication of the pressure applied by Geelong this afternoon. There's been perceived pressure too. They just have not been clean at all with the ball, the Kangaroos. They've always feared that somebody's been on their tail.
79-25, and it was a good analogy that Dennis made a moment ago, because Geelong are playing as well as the Bombers, I reckon, right now, played in 2000. They're constructing a similar season, aren't they?
Paddy, hold that, thank you.
Here's Burns.
Mine.
Corey, who hasn't had much of it today, had 34 disposals the last time they played. So they did their homework on him, and they've been able to hold him down, but nobody else. Oh, Ablett, was it?
Okay, go out. Michael, no, don't do it.
Those hands are getting better by the minute, Tim.
I reckon that's the one real problem Ferrito has when he's pushed deep there to play against a forward, and he is undersized for a key defender, Ferrito, and that was just the size of Ablett, just the body strength too, just to position him.
Going for a second goal today.
Joel Corey would have really enjoyed getting a little bit of space there too, because Rawlings tagged him in the first half, and he hasn't had too much of the leather this afternoon. Joel Corey does a really deep kick, one-on-one, just the wrestle there, the strength, and just the ball carrying that extra distance there to Nathan Ablett. And Cam Mooney just being unceremoniously dumped there in the process by Watt.
$85-25. Nothing worse really than playing in a final and not doing yourself justice. And the Kangaroos now are really out of their depth. Blake And McIntosh, it fell at their feet. Rawlings tied up, and the umpire will do it again. 5 points at quarter time. Great opening term from both teams.
Thank you, Joel.
45 at the half as Glenn Archer looks on. It's been a tough weekend for some big names cast in the role of observers. Swallow slips it away. Gibson. Simpson at centre half back needs to be quick, goes across the ground. Their prime movers have been rushed all day. Swallow under pressure, upended. Selwood, brilliant pickup. Kelly, now Ablett takes off. Wonderful acceleration. That was Harvey just missing. 70 metres out, long towards his brother. Off hands. What will be first to arrive? Initially, they were his hands. Not much to kick to, but kept his head and eventually made something out of nothing. On a tightrope, Sinclair, and it went out. And the boundary umpire was in perfect position.
He's right there, Jesse. Well, he was in good position, but I reckon Sinclair's got a case. I'm not sure if it went out, but I'm not sure if it doesn't matter much either. Wells, Gibson to Sinclair. Short to Swallow. When's the last time the footy went past the centre, Tim? I can't remember. Wells. Now it is. Sinclair. Hale trying to make a contest. Milburn to Mackie. Tell you who I feel sorry for, Tim, at the moment. Travis Farko, Stephen King.
And anyone else that's out
Tom
the side.
Hawkins, you know, because they're the emergencies. How are they going to get a game? Blake to Hunt. He's a good user. Ablett and Ferrito just pushes in front. Ablett with a handball. Well done, Kelly. Nathan Ablett cut off by Gibson. And then Gibson can't get rid of it. Just on that Essendon thrashing of the Kangaroos in 2000. The only other time in recent times that they finished fourth, Dennis, was in 1987, the Kangas. They lost to Melbourne by 118 points in their first final. Fourth has not been pretty for them.
No, must be pleased we're recounting all of this as McIntosh gives it to Sinclair, whose last effort was not good. Neither was that. Put Rawlings under pressure. Stokes, a little chip. There was a Bartell. It was Stokes to Blake.
Well, the crowd want him to have a shot.
And Blake looks inside the forward 50 and simply sets it up towards the square. Punch back across the line by Gibson. Well, a few moments ago, Sinclair got the ball and just gave vent to his frustration. He tried to kick it hard as if he hated the football, but no percentage in that. I think it was Al Pacino who said in The Godfather, don't get angry, it affects your judgment. Here he is again. We'll give him a second or third chance. That's better. Cool head. Simpson. Ferrito had to go and find it. Gibson in trouble. Oh dear.
How many times do they put themselves under pressure by not hitting their target by hand or by foot this afternoon, the Kangaroos? Here they go again.
Well, Sinclair getting plenty of it to Simpson, to Smith. Okay, here's a chance. Open up ahead. Cutting the angle. Doing well was Rook. Smith the long kick towards full forward. Harley arrives. Got his knuckles to it. Slid behind Ling, Ablett, and now Milburn.
Geelong to build as they've done so effectively from the back. Scarlett, so often a prime mover. Stokes, lovely little cameo again from him today. Nathan Ablett getting heavily involved. That's a good sign for the Cats. Selwood, it was a slow handball. Didn't panic, but he had to cough it up in the end, and then Ferrito legged, gets around. Cleaver to Hale. Hale to Pratt. He's battled hard, Pratt, against all the odds. Couple of bounces, wanted to go the third, and then chopped off by Gary Ablett. Contested footy. Wells taps forward. Corey Jones, out it comes. Rawlings just loads it up, hoping and hoping. Brown and Scarlett.
There was a jumper. Jumper. He dragged him down by his jumper. Got a handful of it.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I don't see any dragging down of the jumper there.
I'm with you, Tim. It looked a fair contest, didn't it?
It looked like a good contest.
So Brown, yes, a goal.
26 scoring shots now to 6. It's just been a miserable afternoon for the Kangaroos. But coming into this game, we talked about Dean Lately loading up his forward line, having all those tools down there. Was it going to work? They were undersized from the moment the ball was bounced here, Geelong, but they've just been able to sweep the ball from defence. They've been knocking the ball to the ground. Petrie started down there, but he wasn't able to clunk one either. They've got McIntosh down there now, and Lee Brown's playing out of the square.
Lee Brown and Scarlett. Scarlett goes down. Umpire not interested. Lee Brown made his debut against Fremantle, or rather for Fremantle, against Geelong, round 1 2000. His first opponent was Cam Mooney. That would have been interesting. Still could be this afternoon. Out of the centre, Simpson lobs one inside the forward 50. Awkward bounce for all and sundry. The last man in the line, McIntosh, was dragged down. Edwards missed it. Milburn tried to get it across to Enright, then goes on to apply a tackle on Petrie. And the umpire wants it.
What about Matthew Egan too, Bruce? You mentioned the players that might come back into this side. A lot of discussion about how much they'd miss him this afternoon. Well, it hasn't been missed at all.
I reckon his broken foot's a bit sore right now, don't you? Ablett brilliantly done to Kelly. Gary Ablett takes your breath away, doesn't he? It's not the first time we've said that about a Gary Ablett either. Kelly got it back and then runs hard to a one-on-one. Mooney just mongreled Watt and then got a mongrel bounce. And Watt runs off him and gets to Jesse Smith, who has to backtrack and then carefully to Corey Jones, who's had so little of it. What a great season he's had, but what a disappointing last few weeks. Simpson to Wells.
Take him on.
So Wells, the defensive side of the wing. That's an ambitious kick. Going back, Ablett gave a contest. Swallow, better on the ground. He's got support as well. Rawlings, Simpson.
Pushed in the back. Adam Simpson pushed in the back.
We'll get the free kick.
Starting to get busy, Simpson. 20 touches now.
He's a good player. Goes inside the forward 50. Needs support though. Edwards was down there, so to McMahon. McMahon finishes up with the foot. He goes back to the middle. That's a clever kick, and Petrie, into minds about going on, decides he will take a set shot.
That was great play there by McMahon, because often you see players just blaze away after they extricate themselves from a tackle. Here he is, he wins the ball, pushes the Joel Corey away, and then just keeps his head, looks up, and that's the easiest touch that Petrie's had all afternoon.
Not sure that was the lead the kicker wanted, but he made it look okay, McMahon. And now Petrie comes in and kicks the goal.
Bruce talked before about how Gary Ablett Jr. can take your breath away, and this is one of the reasons why he does. Just look at this. There he is, gains possession of the ball, gets his hands free to Kelly, and they're away deep in defence. And here's this clever bit of play by McMahon again. Came off the rookie list. He's been a real find for the Kangaroos this year. Hasn't done a lot this afternoon, but he's been a valuable player in the lead-up.
Well, they've kicked straight, 6-1. It's a lopsided scoreboard, isn't it? But they have kicked the last two, and maybe Simpson, the captain's been one of the reasons they've had a bit of the footy in the last 5 minutes. That shin bone of spirit to him, there's a lot talked about. Well, they've got to put it on now, don't they?
Play on!
Kelly to Sainsbury, took it off him. What? Oh, he's gone. Oh. He had to give off. And Selwood as quick as a flash.
Play on, forward line!
How mature is Selwood? His decision-making is brilliant, isn't it? Enright to Gary Ablett. To Blake, he can go over the top, and he does. Johnson, not sure. Well, when a genius has to stop and think, it's often not a good idea. Kicks to the pocket and Arch takes a mark. He's the most instinctive footballer imaginable, but he just had too much time ticking over the old brain.
He was going through his options alphabetically, and he was down to Wojcinski. There goes the kick up towards the wing. Camped in front, Jones, Gibson. It was a big moment back in the centre about a minute ago when we saw This man Sainsbury breaking, and now he puts Rawlings into trouble. Just thought if they could get another quick goal, it could have given them a lift. Still a chance here, though. Smith. Can Sainsbury make amends? He's on the 50. Back to Smith. They're labouring over it. Opportunity for that man, Wojcinski. Oh, look at him go. Leaves them smelling his aftershave. Around the outer side from the wing. Goes down towards half forward. Burrito once more. Well, he's been wonderful down there. Hasn't stopped trying against the odds. Burns. Not a good effort.
Their decision-making, the Kangaroos, is just shot to pieces. Here's another turnover. Here's Sainsbury. Smith missing a target. And there's the coach reaction. Oops. I don't think they'll want to look at this tape tomorrow. Just forget about it. Just move straight on.
Corey Jones. Just another one you want to move straight on from Harley. Hunt. So on the rebound, Ablett. Chapman's kick 4. It bounces. He's kicked 4, and he's going to stay at 4. I thought he was immoral the moment Ablett got in his hands.
Even then, Ablett, when he kicked the ball to Chapman, he wasn't prepared just to kick the ball to him. He actually thought, OK, I'll kick the ball over the top. That's where you're supposed to go and kick it.
More than well, Archer to Smith.
Left half back Smith. Intent on drawing Chapman. Look out. Chapman did well, applied some pressure. Gibson back to Smith, though. Kicks beyond the wing. Hunt in best position. Takes the mark, falling to the ground. Releases the run of Wojcinski, and he's got plenty. Wojcinski decides he'll run down towards the 50. Long kick to the square. Going back, Johnson.
He took the mark.
There he is, the tortured genius of moments ago.
I feel really sorry for this Kangaroo defence today, though, because the way the ball's been coming in, they haven't been able to get the job done in the midfield, the Kangaroos. They've been forced to kick the ball up high across half-back. Geelong have then been able to rebound.
Johnson, 15 metres out, kicks the goal. That's his first.
He hasn't been a star this afternoon, but he hasn't needed to be a star this afternoon. They've had so many other winners across the ground. Had terrific drive. And this is a really good sign for Geelong too, Wojcinski, because he's been down on form in recent weeks. Only been average about 9 touches the last 3 games for Geelong. And to see him run, carry, and then be able to kick the ball long, that's a really pleasing thing.
Well, he maintains that record of a goal in every match he's played so far, Steve Johnson. Lloyd, Franklin and Brown are the others in the competition that have kicked a goal in every match they've played this season. Contested marks, all favouring Geelong, everything going their way. Kelly's handball, just cut off. Harris, who was very good early. Kelly's having a good match. Got the bit between his teeth. Floating ball, reading it brilliantly, Mooney.
That's how deep their midfield is now, though. A few years ago, Kelly was the great hope in their midfield. Now you hardly even give him a glance because of their, they've got Bartel. You've got Ablett in the midfield. You've got Selwood now pushing into that midfield. Corey's been a mainstay all season. And someone like Kelly, who's enormously talented, could just play a cameo role.
He's had 19 possessions today, Kelly. Done very well. Mooney going for a 4th goal. He's right on 50. Good looking kick by Cam. He's got it.
See Stevie Johnson. He looks like he might be limping a bit as he comes towards the boundary line, Stevie Johnson. Here's a replay. That's where they've been fantastic today, Geelong. In tight. They've been hard. They've been prepared to put their bodies in, get in low. At every opportunity, they've been able to wrap the Kangaroos up and slow them. And it's just weight of numbers. They've been able to get the ball inside 50 so many times. 47 now to 27.
Well, starting the day, he'd kicked 17 goals in 11 matches against the Kangaroos. He's got 4 this afternoon, a powerhouse on the forward line. But spare a thought for those defenders. It's like shooting fish in a barrel at the moment. Kelly just falling to the ground. They work it once more. Mackey came to Ablett. Certainly the best on the ground. Comes to Selwood. Pulls it back to the middle. Clever kick. 5 coming up for Mooney.
Lee spoke about Selwood at half-time and how you might easily believe that he's a 25, 26-year-old kid that's been, or bloke that's been playing for 8 years. Everything he does is the right thing to do at that time.
Cam Mooney, much easier than the previous goal he kicked. Sometimes that's the way. Such is life.
So 4-6 to 2 goals. Again, big problems for the kick-ins.
Gary, clear away, Gary.
So 4-6 to 2 goals in this term. And they got their 2 goals back-to-back. The Kangas. Pratt's kick's terrible. Just that perceived pressure, as much as pressure at times. And then what gives it up? Chapman. Burns wins a free kick.
Switch me! Straight to his back. Shannon Burns.
Bartel, Ling, rush forward. Now they're being picked up by Sinclair and also Smith.
He plays a role too, Burns, Tim. He's probably the I guess in many ways, he's the guy that you would think least of when you're thinking about the Stars. He's almost the anonymous cat, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. And Varco, who went out of the side, hasn't been able to get enough of the ball, but it's really going to be difficult for him to push his way back into this combination now. As we see, that definitely a free kick, just drew the free kick, and then just Otten's just gliding into that space.
Kicked 4 goals against Brisbane last Saturday night. It's usually a pretty good kick, Otten's. He's a goal-kicking ruckman forward. Gee, that's poetry in motion. That's in the textbooks, isn't it?
Well, you go looking for a weakness in a side, and there's just so much depth wherever you look. Otten's is their #1 ruckman now. He's got enormous strength. He's been terrific this afternoon. Only had 6 disposals, but it's his work that he's been able to do with his hit-outs. There's a tackle that was drawn there by Burns, just pushing hard in on the ball. Their back line has been fantastic again today. Their midfielders, we've already spoken about them, and their forwards have come to life too.
Approaching three-quarter time, Otten's back in the middle. Interesting too that Mark Thompson has decided to put some work into Rook and Bartel. He's got them on the ball. Not long to go, but he's pushing them. They'll have a week off. And he wants the miles or the kilometres in there. There's Rook in trouble. Trying to force a passage was Burns. Otten's who got the last goal. Assisted by Rook. We'll have a bounce. I remember talking with Max Rook. He was Jared then. I asked him about umpires. Who did he like? He singled out one that he didn't like. And that one is in close proximity. Rook, Selwood. 5 seconds to go. Kelly. Mooney.
Selwood is just an extraordinary young talent.
There's the siren. Well, I think, Bruce, we're on world record pace here for a qualifying final. Selwood. What an amazing football family. 20 possessions for Selwood. Jimmy's put the cue back in the rack. He's stopped on 20. And Ablett scooting away. He's on skates. 26. At goal number 5. Exclamation point. And the cats come from everywhere. Look at this. There's a bowl of milk in there. Three-quarter time. 16-16 to 6-1.
Come and see the real thing. Come and see the real thing. Come and
What a player he is, Joel Selwood, in a three-quarter time. Look at the story so far. That looks like Mount Everest right now. That mountain gets higher and higher. It's 112 to 37, 32 shots to 7. And they're just under the pump, the Kangaroos, Ox. There's just so much pressure on them every time they get near the footy.
Absolute enormous pressure, Bruce, and in every facet, especially in the middle of the ground. And when the Kangaroos are trying to counter-attack, Lee, they just can't get it out with any fluency, and they can't get it out with any skill or confidence because Geelong are just smothering them.
I don't know whether it's the chicken or the egg, but good sides always tackle well, and even though they've owned the ball basically, Geelong, they've still had 50 tackles to the Kangaroos 38, so even when the Kangaroos do get the ball, they just get hunted so badly, and they and just get run away. Isn't it exhilarating when Wojcinski takes off with the ball like that?
It's a beauty.
Well, Ricky, it was pretty interesting at three-quarter time with Dean Lady and his Kangas.
Yeah, I went over to the Kangaroos huddle at three-quarter time, and Dean Lady called his support staff away from the group. He wanted to have a one-on-one chat with his players, and he was absolutely filthy. He wasn't happy with their intensity and the pressure they played to the Geelong Cats. He did say they've got something to play for next week. They need to get out there and win this quarter and take some confidence into the game next week. Over at Geelong, business as usual. They've got one small concern with Stevie Johnson coming just before three-quarter time. He says he's cramping in both quads, so he had some work done, and he will start on the bench.
Dean lately they're just eyeballing some of his players during the three-quarter time break. Generally you call the staff away when you're actually delivering some home truths. Maybe this bloke will have to be coming back next week now, Nathan Thompson.
112 to 37. Corey to Blake, who got it to Corey, and he kicks down towards half forward. Nathan Ablett missed it. Getting back is Ferrito. Well played. Ferrito pushing up the ground, men onto the outer side, and he uses Pratt. And Nick next to that right eye as he bounces up towards midfield. Probing kick towards the 50. Mackey saw to it, it came to the ground. Hunt getting back. Look at the numbers they've got around the footy. Wojcinski, though, took them on. Was a bit lucky. Kelly. Now Hunt. Bit lucky. Milburn, very lucky. Goes in short, finds Hunt. And Hunt comes across the ground of Stokes. Interesting, I was doing a little lip reading at three-quarter time, Tim, and I was watching Mark Thompson. I'm very good at this. And, well, not very good, but he did say, I'm not interested in this final. I'm interested in playing footy.
And maybe building something for next week against Hawthorn. They've got to get something out of this match, you would reckon. Blake, back. Wojcinski with that run to half forward. Ling trying to get rid of Jesse Smith. And the ball at half forward left for the Cats.
I'm not sure whether they're just giving Cameron Ling a bit of a rest at the moment, but he's pushed forward and out of the midfield at the moment. They're actually trying to play him as a forward.
That's a surprising stat that no Cat has kicked more than 5 goals in a game this year. They've been such a high-scoring, free-flowing team. They've been pretty good down back too. Simpson wobbles it. Milburn having a great year. The only 30-year-old in the team, not playing like it. Stokes very good. Kelly, Bartel, perfect handball. Mackey at full tilt. Little kick, a beauty to Ablett. Don't they read one another well?
They're machine-like. They look one way, they look the other way. They've always got 1, 2, maybe 3 options. And they always try as hard as they possibly can to keep the ball in the central corridor of the ground.
What a year he's having, Gary Ablett. Brownlow medal favourite. Jimmy Bartel maybe the second or third favourite. He's made alongside him in the midfield. Good looking kick. He just does everything so well, doesn't he? He's the complete package.
There's 27 touches this afternoon. He's kicked the 2 goals going forward. He's had 4 clearances. And it was a real surprise at the beginning of this game, though, he didn't get the hard tag. Rawlings actually went to Corey. They were trying to rotate other players through Ablett, but they just weren't able to get any control of the ball whatsoever, the Kangaroos, to damage Ablett. I think there's a theory that exists amongst some of the clubs that if you can send him forward as a defensive, back as a defensive player, you might be able to expose him.
He's been sensational this afternoon for not the first time this season. He's got to pull it all together by next week. Blake on the way down, struck by the ball. Harris gave it across to McIntosh, who kicks it down towards half forward, and Edwards could have been held.
No, you were holding him! Aaron Edwards brought him down in the tackle.
He'll get the free kick. The defensive side of right half forward, that's just untidy. No excuse for that. Unrelated to pressure. Just kicked it into Hunt. It ricocheted to Kelly, who gave it to Ablett. Now Hunt beyond the wing. Milburn has been terrific. Missed the mark that time. Archer goes back. Tackle taken down by Nathan Ablett. Chance for Farito. Good pressure by Milburn. Smith, Farito hard against the line. Edwards, chance to make amends here. What about the hand pass? Doesn't go. Bearing in mind the record losing margin in the qualifying final, 125 points. Here's Simpson.
Let him run! He's had a few touches, Simpson, early and then late. Harris, who's the other good midfielder, that's a good kick. To Petrie. Kicked a third quarter goal.
Move on, Drew! Fly on! Fly on!
So Petrie's kick to the pocket. Shannon Grant. Pratt has gone forward. Ablett's tackle on him. Oh, Ablett brilliant again to Stokes, to Bartel. Kelly got a bad bounce. They've had a few bad bounces today, Geelong. Burns on the end of it, and away he goes.
Couple of bounces, early bounces. Touches this one down as he draws closer to Jones. He's trying to hypnotise him. Goes across to Enright. He was tripped. No. Play goes on. Feeds it back. Mooney. Long ball down towards full forward. Ottens. Simply too tall.
Too big for Gibson. What about that running by Enright, though, that support running? And that's where they've been so good, Geelong. They do everything. There's Ablett just winning the ball. And that started deep in their defence. They were able to open up the fat side of the ground. But Enright just ran in support. In the end, he actually got the ball. They were able to create the numbers and then get the ball forward to Ottens.
So encouraging for the marking players when they can't take your arms these days. Gibson reaching for the ball. Didn't find it.
Well, Dean lately not happy with that mismatch because Lee Brown comes onto the ground now and he'll go to Ottens, which will enable Gibson to go to one of the smaller players. Here's Burns holding onto the ball. Here's a bit of running here from Enright just to create almost a free kick there back to Mooney, and then they're able to bring the ball into that long target there that they've isolated in the goal square, and they'd go to that every time.
Well, Dean Laddie's got his hands. I wonder what Mark Williams, Michael Moldhouse, John Worsfold and Alistair Clarkson think about today.
Plenty.
Where's the weakness? How do we beat them? Well, Port did it. We know that down at Geelong, didn't they? But they had you out.
Just came on, Selwood.
Scarlett.
Play on the 15! Play
on the 15.
Burns to Bartel to Hunt. It's been very good, Hunt. He had an interesting duel with Edwards in the first quarter. Probing kick and getting back Jones. But they would love Jones to have been taking those marks in the forward 50 in the first half. Just nothing happening. Out wide to Grant. Grant with a fair bit of space. Uses the run of Watt, and Watt goes inboard.
Rawlings from about 70 metres out. Hunt from behind. Timely fist. Well played. Harley falls down. Hunt. Brilliantly done. Wojcinski so important back there. Advantage will be paid surely. Burns again. This has happened a few times today. Pushing up, bouncing, kicks inside the forward 50. Ottens and Brown this time, and the ball bounces out of bounds.
Well, one of the intriguing things here this afternoon is Cameron Ling went to Harvey. Here's the contest in the air there. At the beginning of this game, Ling has kept him to 6 touches for the afternoon, but Harvey started this last quarter on the bench and still hasn't been summoned onto the ground. So you just wonder whether or not he's even carrying an injury now.
If looks could kill, eh? Archer and Wojcinski. Brown in from the side. Simpson tried so hard. Brown, Jones, they're all back there. It was Jones who got it across to Smith. Great names. The ball comes out towards the wing, and Pratt takes it.
Lucky they didn't change theirs on you, Dennis.
That's right.
Pratt, Archer running hard. Harley just shoves him away. And then out in the full against Harley. So a stroke of luck for the Kangas. Sainsbury's got to come back. Tell you the one thing I've learnt from the day, Tim.
What's that?
You don't run through the Geelong huddle half an hour before the match.
You don't run through their tackles either. That's the other thing we've learnt this afternoon. Their tackles stick. Do you think that we might see a repeat of that in a couple of weeks' time, do you?
Don't reckon. It's probably Sainsbury. Good-looking kick from the pocket. Just floating. End of behind. He's had a forgettable day in his first final, but he's not alone. Here's Harvey back on, Tim. Gee, the mood at training this week will be interesting at the Kangas. Wojcinski, well, that doesn't happen too. He doesn't get caught too often.
Great by Jess Sinclair, just stood his ground. Intelligent kick two, almost the mark there to McIntosh. Trying to steal it away with Scarlett. Thought he had it. McIntosh on one knee. Down goes McMahon. That ball is locked in there. Knock it out's the call, but he couldn't do much with that.
Just taking on one too many tacklers here. Got low there. Sinclair, that's a great tackle just to wrap him up.
Marvellous effort. So here's the bounce. And I know Port Adelaide feel as though they've been disrespected all year by a lot of people. Harvey's getting a free kick here.
Got the jumper.
But I was going to say, Tim, that I think on what we've seen, it's easy to fall in love with a team and the opposition isn't great, but on what we've seen today, I think only the West Coast Eagles at full strength, with all their good players, would have a chance against Geelong on exposed form. There goes the kick from Harvey.
All clear.
But he's put it through for a goal.
Well, Harvey, like so many of his teammates this afternoon, has had a miserable afternoon. Just 6 disposals coming into this game. He was their chief ball winner, Harvey. Been averaging 25 the last 3 weeks. Handball receives 13 of those. So what he's been able to do is get around the back, receive the ball. They love the ball in his hands. He's a good distributor. He's a good decision maker, but they just haven't had anything from him at all this afternoon. Cameron Ling has done a marvellous job.
The big crowd have seen a performance to remember here from Geelong. 80-point margin on their way to the prelim final in a couple of weeks. So the week off for the Cats. Kangaroos to play Hawthorn in the semi-final, knockout semi-final next Saturday. It'll be the Eagles and Collingwood surely on the Friday night because of the turnaround.
A couple of weeks ago, Hawthorn got absolutely smashed by Sydney, but they were able to rebound yesterday against Adelaide. So you can regroup in the space of 5 or 6 days.
Ablett to Johnson. And Johnson inside 50. Mooney worked under by Watt. Chapman, who was the early goal-kicking star when things were a bit tighter than this. Burns, well done by Watt. And then Rawlings handball. Gibson worried out of it by Burns. Jones.
No, there's 2 guys that have a 50-50 crack. Not going to penalise the guys going for the footy.
There's a sorry sight. Glenn Archer. More games than any other Kangaroo. Shinboner of the century. Norm Smith medalist at a grand final here 11 years ago. He's just had a day to forget. Can't wait for next week for another crack.
Just wondered too about the seriousness of Harris's injury. He's only had 12 touches this afternoon. We saw him get stomped on in the first quarter, and he went off. He's got a bandaged hand. They've needed him this afternoon.
Boundary throw in. Jones to Grant around the outer side towards the boundary. It pitches just inside. Harley takes it across. The disappointment for me, and we touched on it late last week, is Daniel Wells. He's got to get more of his own ball. 14 today, simply not good enough. Just watching that boundary throw in, he was the widest man. It's pretty rich coming from a guy wearing makeup, I know, but there's Selwood. Taken down.
No chance.
We'll have a ball up. The one thing, I suppose, if you're looking for a silver lining, if you're the Kangaroos, they've had so many good players down. Now, pride is the spinach of good players. Their pride will be pricked. And so often, good players, very good players, don't put back-to-back bad ones in. Here's Harley.
It's a good point, Corey. Terrific vision again. Blake, Scarlett, and could feel the tackle coming, so he kicked it in a hurry. Gibson and Johnson, and then off the ground Johnson, and he was talking to that footy, but it wasn't listening. It normally does.
I think we are seeing a super side here this afternoon, though, in Geelong. And you've already mentioned Essendon back in 2000. Well, they've had a similar season to Essendon's 2000 season.
Rotten so easily, and then out on the full. I mean, the question that will only be answered with longevity is, are we seeing a team have a great year, or are we seeing a great team?
Time will tell. It's been a long time. Their last premiership, 1963. There's Jones, slams it forward, wide of the mark. Simpson made it look okay. Now Sinclair caught one there as he kicked that ball, and he's slow to get up. Meantime, up ahead to where he kicked it. Mackey is working overtime against Hale.
And Dennis, you look at the little things that make up the complete performance. Bartel then came back with the fly of the ball. Here's a knock on Sinclair from Corey, just to spoil from the side there.
10.5 minutes remaining in this one, but it's over. Selwood holding the ball.
Well, that's his first mistake this afternoon, Selwood.
And that was better by Wells in closer. Late the tackle. Especially against this team, you need to be in close because they've got players who get very close to the ball. Wells should kick it. 20 metres out. Nicely done.
That is all clear.
He's had 15 touches, Daniel Wells, but we just haven't seen any devastating runs from him this afternoon. Last week, and it was a completely different opposition against the Western Bulldogs they played, but I went and watched that game, and he was able to actually run and carry the ball and open up the ground, but he hasn't been able to do that. And with Harvey shut down as well, they just have looked a slow, stagnant side this afternoon.
Cam Mooney seeing it out. He's got 60 goals, Mooney. It's the first cat to kick 60 goals in a season since Gary Ablett in 1996. I think Ken Kingsley had 57 a couple of times, so it's been a big year for Mooney. He's elevated himself into the elite power forward in this last year. Wells now getting involved. This is the type of stuff you've been talking about, Tim and Dennis. Sinclair's awful floating kick. Mackey read it brilliantly. And then a hard ball for Stokes. Sinclair gang tackled. And then Stokes seemingly ridden into the ground. Well done, Sainsbury. Grant, Sainsbury. Geelong hassling though, as if they're a point in front. Scarlett getting it from Wojcinski, floating to centre half forward. Johnson, Gibson, Rawlings. He's done a good job on Corey. Harris sweeps the handball back to Rawlings.
Rawlings beyond the wing. Petrie, 80 metres from goal, goes for distance. Edwards in front, stolen away by Harley, and it's paid.
Only one, play on.
Milburn, so much of the football this afternoon, 24 possessions back there. The ringmaster. And Stokes, when the game was really won in the second term, he was outstanding. Milburn again.
You mentioned he plays a cameo role, but if he was in any other team in the competition, you'd think that he might play a far greater role. He's a very talented player.
He's off around the outer side, got it back from Milburn. And for Geelong, this one's over. All they want to do is stay healthy now and move on. That's over the shoulder. Hence, there is space for some of these Kangaroos.
Play on yours.
Over the top, Enright lines up and pops it through.
There's that mark that went through Ken Edwards' hand. Just have a look at the other side of that. Well, maybe. I mean, Harley had a more significant grab on it even in the first instance, but this is just really loose. Wells, who's been picked up by Enright, just allowing him goal side.
He was 5th in the best and fairest last year, and right, he's had a better year this year. Be doing well though to be in the top 5. So good have the Cats been.
Last time he played on Harvey, this time he played on Wells.
Having a career best season, as so many of his Cats are. The NAB rising star, Selwood, could he create some history?
No chance at all.
No rising stars ever won a premiership.
Maxwell coming off the ground too.
77,630. Now that's the biggest crowd the Kangaroos have played in front of since the 99 grand final. So it's been 8 years since the Kangaroos have played in front of such a big crowd. Ablett. Clever kick to his brother, who takes the mark.
He's an extraordinary talent, isn't he, Gary Ablett? The way he caresses the ball by foot.
And it's ridiculous to compare him with his father, but I reckon it's fair to say he does his bit as well as his dad did his bit.
He's a much better midfielder than Gary.
Absolutely. They're different footballers completely, but he's a remarkable talent. And this young man is growing and having a very good year and has cemented his place in the team today, that's for sure.
He's got 3 today. He only averages 7 or 8 touches a game, 4 or 5 marks. So he's not a big possession type gatherer, but here's brother Gary just waiting, and they just set that up beautifully. He's got a strong pair of hands, Nathan Ablett. I still don't reckon he's reached that stage in his development where he believes that he is a good player. And it's only then that we'll see the very best of Nathan.
Three goals for that young man. Former captain looking on with some young hopefuls. Will he get back? I mean, Blake hasn't set the world on fire, but you wouldn't tinker with this. Blake doesn't get to this contest. Petrie knocks it down. Grant comes away, kicks inside the forward 50. Hunt's been very good. Takes a strong mark. The biggest win in a final, the Cats, 94 points back in '89, a preliminary final against the Bombers, and I believe you were there, Tim.
He was captain, I think.
He might have been. Lee went looking for Mooney, and Mooney is going to get a free kick. Silence is the only answer from the former Bomber.
Gary Ablett Sr. kicked 8 goals that day.
Was Tim on him? Doubt that. There he is, breathtaking. Tim claiming his breath was taken away and he can't speak. Pratt, how did you know that was coming? Ablett, over the top advantage will not be paid. It will come back.
Your kick, Steve.
Well, we've got a bit of time here, Dennis. Just explain the advantage rule for me, will you? When is it advantage and when is it not advantage?
Don't try and deflect me, because I want to go back to that '89 preliminary final.
I want to go back to tinkering the team, Dennis. That'd be like asking Pavarotti to gargle one more time, wouldn't it?
Well, that would be difficult, Bruce.
Now it would.
Ablett's coming off the ground. What a performance. Speaking of virtuosos, 32 possessions. We're talking about his dad, running Tim's team. Johnson misses out to the right.
Oh, clear!
Don't get Brownlow votes for today, do you? But if you did, Tim, I reckon he'd be on top of your top 4, wouldn't he? Gary Ablett today. Have you got him in your top 4?
At the very top he is. 31 disposals this afternoon. He's done it all. He's done it the hard way. He's done it the easy way.
I bet you hope that record goes.
I'm just refusing to acknowledge you're even here, Dennis.
Speaking of margins, 87 points was the margin that the Kangaroos lost to Port Adelaide 2 years ago in the only other final under Dean Laidley. They've only played a couple of finals in 5 years. They lost by 87 points in 05. The difference this year, of course, is they get a second chance, and they've earned it. They've won 14 of their last 19 matches. But today they've been humbled. And I don't think it was stage fright, Tim, do you? I think they'll just outplay.
They started well. They actually started really well, but they just met an amazing force this afternoon in Geelong. They answered everything they threw at them, and then they gave them some more. And then they almost collectively lost their confidence in the space, I reckon, of about 5 or 10 minutes.
It's hard to imagine a team beating Geelong, and all the teams you've seen over the years, it's hard to imagine anyone being any better than they are today. Let's have a look at your top four. So,
well, Gary Ablett, Selwood, he's just been a star. Mooney's kicked his 5 goals, and Chapman has also been very good. But I would have liked to have slotted Cameron Ling in there because he's done a marvellous job on Harvey.
Tell you what I'd like to know, how many Geelong players do you have before you get to your first Kangaroo? Think about that for a moment.
20.
Wells. Out of defence to the wing. Milburn will get a free kick.
Arms around the body. Thanks, David.
He's an extraordinary player, Cameron Ling. When last year, when things were going badly for Geelong, he was the player who the supporters were venting their frustration through. But he's just been able to...
What a comeback by Jimmy Bartell as well.
Set himself again, Ling.
Selwood.
Beautiful kick.
He meant that.
I think he did. Just looking at Bartell, he's had 2 good games, make that 3 now against the Kangaroos. 25 possessions and 3 goals back in round 5 in the loss, and 36 and a goal in round 20. And this afternoon, what's he got? 25. Wow. Here's Mackey meantime. That's interesting. Diaz out to the right. Knew what he was doing, kicks the goal.
Well, that's one of the problems when you play against Geelong is who do you go to? Yes, you've got to stop Ablett, but you've got to stop Selwood now. He started the game on the bench. This is a wonderful kick here by Wojcinski. Just weighted that beautifully, and that's a feature of Geelong's play. They're able to stay inside the corridor and get the high percentage positions to shoot a goal. Chasing the 100-point margin now too.
Look at that scoreboard. So the record win for Geelong in any final they've played is 94 points.
Yeah, Tim.
And that was against Essendon in the final out of Waverley in 1989. And the strange thing about that, Dennis, is that Tim's boys beat them by 76 points a fortnight earlier. Here we go. The record's on. Enright.
Oh, Timmy.
Good player, Enright.
It's party time now. All the tricks are coming out. They just smashed the ball from the clearance. That was a pretty simple finish here. Just watch this. Here we go. Great win of the ball there by Stokes, and then just smashed it forward by Selwood once again. I reckon he meant that too. Bang to Enright on the chest. It's a very simple game, football, when it's played like this.
22-17, 8-2, and at the moment they're in the record books. What a return by that man. What a publicity during the course of the season. Max Rook barracked for the Cats as a kid, but his footy hero, strange to relate, was Jimmy Cracker, North's best and fairest in 86. Champion midfielder. And look at these champion midfielders combined. Selwood gave it to Bartell. Milburn ran it up. Joel Corey goes to the outer side. Blake. Enright. Down towards half forward. Just edged out of it was Jones. Trying to spike it was Johnson. Jones came back, did well to Simpson. A little chip up towards the wing, taken by Petrie. Tim wants them to stack the back line, Geelong, at the present time. Opportunity for Kelly. In trouble. Feeds it out to Wojcinski. Wojcinski taken down. Strong tackle. That ball not coming out.
He's had no chance.
I mean, you've got to look for something late in the match. There's only been 4 finals ever won by 100 points. They're sitting on 99, and the Kangaroos, unfortunately for them, have lost the 2 most recent by that margin. So,
High there, Mark. Free kick to Scott, Mark. Let's go back.
So McMahon.
Go back, Jimmy.
And they're playing close to the second best side in the competition.
McMahon kicks to the hot spot. Edwards couldn't quite. Hunt kept his eyes on it. Hard by Sinclair. Back to Edwards. Good tackle, Corey. And Lee Matthews gave us the stats of Geelong's tackling at three-quarter time. I think it was 50 to 38.
Thank you, Andrew.
I mean, not only have they been the #1 attacking team in the comp, but they've been the #1 defensive as well. That does tell a tale, doesn't it?
And once again, their awareness just lacking.
$2 favourites, Tim, for the flag before today. You just wonder what price they will be.
I'm just trying to work out a positive that Dean Laidley can take out of this game.
Only one, Tim, that they can play again next week. Corey. To Nathan Ablett. To fall forward. Johnson turns his man. Here's the 100 points. Over the top. Chappie's got 5. You're safe, Tim. Been a few centuries on this ground, Dennis.
Yes.
I think, despite the fact they've kicked a massive score today, Geelong, I think Lee Matthews right. When they sit down and do their analysis of the game, one of the most pleasing things for Bomber Thompson will be the pressure they've applied against Kangaroos. They just haven't allowed them to play their own game.
And this is a team that's scored very heavily in the last 2 weeks, the Kangaroos.
Well, they've been averaging, the Kangaroos, in the last 3 weeks, 20 goals a game.
Well, his team couldn't scratch themselves this afternoon. Bartel. Enright running down towards half forward. Burns. 45 metres out, don't tell me. Oh, he's missed. Interesting, too, one man who probably needed to win back his coach. I think that's a fair comment. There's Corey over the top. He'll be penalised. And the kick will go to Simpson. Josh Hunt. And I reckon he's done that today.
He has, and he's had to play that tall role too.
He's played a great game back there. Simpson. He's been a fine captain in a losing cause. Edwards has it.
It's a good point, Dennis. Hunt had missed 3 matches in the last 3 seasons before this year. Yeah. And has struggled to hold his place, hasn't he?
And there were reasons as he kicks it down towards half forward. That was Edwards. Bartel did very well. Must have seen the socks. Got it out to Ling. Close to the boundary line. Milburn can't keep it in. Dying seconds of the first qualifying final. And make no mistake, Geelong have qualified.
Blake over the back. Corey to Kelly, who's been very, very good. But that's ditto, isn't it, today? Ling got it from Milburn. Jones.
Sums up his day.
Well, Dean Laidley's got to instill some confidence into a few of these guys because they are lacking. And this is one bloke who's just... He's gone from being so good, All-Australian, I reckon, 2 months ago, or less than that, even 6 weeks ago. Kicked 7 against Hawthorn down in Tassie. Just can't find the footy, can't kick a goal. Shannon Grant hasn't been able to impose himself today. Kicks wide to the pocket, Edwards and Petrie. And that's it. A record-breaking win. Interesting, Tim, about the celebration there for the Cats.
No wild celebrations at all, Bruce. It was just like another win during the home and away season. They know to get the job done, they've got to win 2 more games of football this season. They are committed to that, and that's how they play their football.
We shouldn't forget, Dennis, they were 15 seconds away from making it 18 straight.
That's right, yes. Against Port Adelaide, we saw that game. Cam Mooney. Under restraint now and playing far better.
Played in a premiership with Simpson and Archer in '99, Mooney. Let's go down to Ricky, who's with one of the stars of the day, Jimmy Bartell.
Yeah, he was a star, mate. Awesome display. What more can you say?
Yeah, we knew the Kangaroos always throw everything at us, and we just had to try and match them in the contested ball and tackling, and that was just our main focus today.
Well, they knocked you off early here in that area. They tested you a few weeks back, but today you just smashed them.
Yeah, it's hard work whenever you play the Kangaroos, and they smashed him pretty hard today. We were just able to win a few close ones, which helped us get the ball forward.
You used yourself, mate. You had a couple of weeks off after the appendix operation. What did you do in those 2 weeks?
Yeah, a great deal of nothing, really. I couldn't do much, so I was just watching the boys the last 2 weeks hurt, so you just want to be a part of the side whenever you can.
I think you almost have to go back in with leather poisoning.
No, I wouldn't say that. Had a lot of help from the boys. We just played a good, tight team game.
You played another great game, mate. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Jimmy Bartell back today and back in form with a lot of help. They were awesome today. Bartell finishes the day with 29 possessions, and the little guys were able to feed off the big man. Brad Otten's had another good one. Here he is with Rick Olorenshaw.
Brad, in a final like that, you expect it to be red hot, but what an amazing win.
Yeah, it was great. We knew they're pretty good contested footy team, and I think we beat them at that today, which we wanted to, and it's a great win.
The midfield is absolutely awesome at the moment.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we've got guys sort of winning their footy in there, and everyone's sort of playing well in there. Joel Selwood, everyone's playing well, so it's a big strength.
It must be great to go up forward when those boys are coming through the midfield, the way they deliver that footy.
Yeah, it is. It's good. It's good when we get it in quick and sort of have a bit of space. It sort of makes it a bit easier.
And it's handy now having a week off.
It is. It's going to be a huge relief for a lot of boys, sort of sore bodies and stuff. So it's good. Just a week off and then get into it the week after that.
Your chance to have a surf for the next couple of weeks?
Oh, I'm not sure, mate. I'll finish footy first and then see how we go.
Go ahead. Thanks, Brad. No, mate.
Well, a game that started in controversial circumstances, a clash between the two clubs about 45 minutes before the opening bounce, has ended with barely a ripple. Geelong, as they liked. We saw Mark Bomber Thompson down there before. People say a year is a long time in politics, a year is a long time in football. Well, alongside that quote, I think there'd be a picture of Mark Bomber Thompson. Things have really turned around for his club. As you can see, the celebrations are muted. They understand that so much now is expected. All they've done today is simply raise the bar. They've raised the bar on themselves. The Cats, splendid this afternoon. Cam Mooney is celebrating. The captain steps to the front. Max Rourke would be delighted. He'll play in a fortnight.
Brilliant, along with Chapman, Mooney with his 5 goals. Chapman matching that today. Harley leading from the front. Otten's just so strong, and there's just not a weakness as you look through this team. They've all contributed. They've all played their part, as they have through the season. It's just hard to imagine a team playing any better than Geelong did today. They were challenged early. Kangaroos led 3 goals to 2 in the opening term. It was a ferocious opening term, but they got hold of the game in the second quarter by the scruff of its neck, and they never let it go. They were awesome today. Broke the record books, won by the biggest margin that any Geelong team has ever won a final by. So the favourites for the flag are the hottest of hot favourites right now. They could get the sweep, couldn't they? The NAB Rising Star, the Brownlow Medal and the Premiership, all in the 1 year. So the Cats singing that song as they've done so often this year What a season they're having, and what a match they have played today. So the Cats through to the preliminary final, and next weekend it's West against Collingwood, Friday at Subiaco, and on the Saturday the Kangaroos and Hawthorn. Now for exact times, watch 7 News tonight. We'll have the schedule and the times on 7 News. So West Coast Collingwood at Subi, and the Kangaroos having to come back now against the Hawks at the MCG. A colossal performance by Geelong today, and Gary Ablett, well, what a season he's having. So our viewers in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne are about to leave us, and they've seen some history from Geelong today. What a day it was at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.